Hey, hey! It is your boy, Illicit Therapy. Jay, Josh, any of these fucking people you want to go by, they all work the same. So, excuse me. Let me just test something here. It sounds good. All right. And I think we could just, leave it here. All right. Now click it. And don't, bitch. Okay. Hold on. Now I heard somebody come in here and welcome. I don't know who it is. But we got a lot of shit to cover for sure. A lot of shit to cover. It's going to be one of these. It's going to be one of those things. You can feel free to jump in and say your piece and stuff like that. I really would appreciate that if you do. Why is this fucking shit? There we go. Okay. This is actually being streamed on YouTube as well. So it's also Illicit Therapy. If you do like the content, don't forget to follow it, subscribe to it, like it, share it, do all those other things. I would really, really appreciate it. And let me let you in here, Mr. Was it Nightwalker? Why can't I? It says requested. Add a speaker. Okay. There we go. Like, for some reason, I can't get rid of the captions and stuff like that. So, what's going on, What is it, Nightwalker?
Yeah, what's up?
Nightwalker, what's good, bro?
Cool. About to watch this movie with the fam in a couple of minutes. Just hop go ahead and see what's poppin', man.
Same old. You sound a little distorted.
I don't know, it must be. I got the Surface Duo and the shit be funny to speak on, so if that sound off, it's probably just the phone, because I'm holding it like a damn book.
Let me test something out here.
You said what now?
I said, let me test something. Keep talking.
Yeah, but now I can't wait for the Arkham Knights though.
Yeah, it sounds good. You just like the quality of your.
Let me put my headset on.
No. Well, you're okay.
Hello?
Yeah, that's much better. Much better.
Yeah, I put it in my headset and shit. Cause like I say, with the Surface Duo, I hold it like a book, so you know it's kind of funny when you talk with it. Cause I don't really talk with it like that. I just use my headset all the time when I'm on it.
Now we got a lot to cover here. I know you're about to watch a movie, but there's two particular subjects that I wanted to go, and they're kind of relating to each other. I had a different subject until this shit came out about Gotham Knights. Also, there was a issue with somebody. There's a couple people that have an issue with me and what I was saying.
Well, what did you say?
Well, the thing that I said in terms of what's going on, Upper Room, the thing that I was saying essentially was my issue with PC gaming. Now, someone kind of like responded to me and was like, yeah, they basically. So you got a lot of noise in the background. So hold on, let me do this right here. When you're ready, you can unmute yourself. I'm just going to mute it. So what we have here is essentially someone responded to one of the issues that I had in terms of PC gaming, right? PC gaming to me, and I believe the title is literally why I loathe PC gaming. That's literally what it is. I that's my particular personal preference. I do know that people like to tinker with shit, and I don't got a problem with it. I'm just stating why I don't like it. That's a me thing. So one of the people said that it was going to be full of misinformation. I'll go to the clip here so you guys can hear it. So I'm going to do this here.
Yo.
Yeah.
I hate to cut you off, right? But this is a subject matter that is near and dear to my motherfucking heart.
Which is?
So you drop some shit like why I don't like some shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming motherfuckers jump in like, hey man, shut the fuck up, right? And it's like, nigga, you don't have to be involved with me not liking something, right? You can shut the fuck up and just walk away, but I'm telling you my displeasures. You can join in or walk away. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Let me hear your displeasures with PC.
Well, you know, everybody got their preference. This is like, I be on PC, even though every console that came out, the PC is what I prefer, but I don't knock the consoles. You know, they still good consoles.
I mean, listen, hey, Doug, I knock shit, right? Like, sometimes, I don't fuck with that shit. I don't fuck with that shit. I don't like it. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, like, if somebody's bullet pointing their displeasures or dislikes or something like that, like, dog, I get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's you and your motives. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to come and try to silence their dislike or their criticisms for something that they're into probably deeper than me because the points aren't there. You know what I'm saying? What? Listen, drop them bullet points on why you hate PC, and I guarantee you know more than what a lot of motherfuckers are talking that are going your dislikes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, these are legitimate dislikes, and they really are. I used to build PCs back in the late 90s and early 2000s. So, I mean, not too much has changed, but I realized at that point in time, I don't feel like dealing with it. And that's my particular personal preference. Homie, his name is Ryan and a whole bunch of fucking numbers, right? He goes ahead and he says, let me make sure I'm fucking talking. Yeah, I am. He goes ahead, what's going on, Fatal? He goes on, he says, what is your point? There could be a million of possibilities why you have stutter. Because one of the videos I posted up there, it has stutter. And speaking of which, I need to put this in the spaces so you guys can see what I'm doing here. But like, no, I'm going to play a recording and hopefully you guys will hear it and I'll go over it, right? So let me do this. No, I have to go back here. It's amazing how people just don't like opinions and shit like that. Like you have to align with everybody else, which is kind of like, it's like weirdo shit, to be honest with you. Like, you don't have to align with everybody else and shit like that, nor do you have to tear people's shit down. But I hear a lot of issues with PC people. But either way, my issue was stuttering. So I'm going to play the recording that I had earlier. I'm going to mute my mic on YouTube so I won't have any kind of feedback. And they can hear what I'm doing. So give me 1 second.
And what happened?
This is what makes me say nope to PC gaming. You see the stutter? Yeah, see, this is why people actually play on consoles, so they don't have to deal with this stuff. In the next video, you're going to see what that's all about.
Install, like you went into device manager and clicked uninstall driver. Okay, so that doesn't actually wipe all of the traces of the driver out. It doesn't go into the registry. It doesn't remove any, because when the driver gets installed, it gets installed all over the place in your system. And it doesn't remove all of those traces. And what happens is when you go to install a new driver, there's a lot of files that'll just be like, oh, those are already there. They're the same. Let's just leave them. So if any of that became corrupted or weird in some way, they could be lingering.
So, the recording just stopped. I'm having a question. Were you trying to play a PC game and then you had issues with some remainders of a driver?
No. This was one of many particular problems that I have with PC gaming in general. So I just went online, right, and found.
But you know, if you use DDU and use that to uninstall the drivers, it'll install everything. It'll even clean the rushes. You know what I'm saying? You just had to do your research and find out about it, or ask the PC gamer. You know what I mean?
But you see what you just said. But hold on, wait. Hold on. You see what you just said? What you just said right there? Do your research. It's not me. This is somebody else's particular issue. I'm just posting examples as to why it could be problematic and why I don't like it. I hate it, actually.
All right, but
So-
what I'm saying is that you just had to, you just had to do your research.
Right, but you're trying to tell me, on a you're trying to win me over on a preference that I don't care. I don't want a PC game. There's a reason why
I mean, I know what you don't. I know what you don't want. I'm just saying.
No, I know you can fix it. And if you educate yourself, right? If you educate
That's just like when you look at the reviews and see how good this game gonna play and see how good that you doing your research. You doing your due diligence.
So, I think one of the issues is that you gotta realize though, right? Like with gaming, right? There is a certain inconvenience factor of like it's some bullshit that you got to deal with a lot of times, right? Like some tinkering and everything, but that's part of the game, right? Because you buy a PC, you probably assume you're going to be doing some tinkering and everything to make shit like run correctly. But at the same time, I think that's why people buy consoles because, like, dog, I buy my console, my Dex 5.
You went out for a second.
Yeah, so you buy your Series X or PS5.
Yeah.
every time you about to get into it, it gets fucked up.
No, I mean I understand what you're saying. Like
no, but I don't think that you understand what. Hold on, wait. I don't think you understand what I'm saying because what I'm saying is that I'm not saying that these.
You don't want to deal with that.
Period. But that's a definitive decision. I don't want to deal with it. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is that for the people who do, they have no problem with it or like the tinkering, that's fine. But the reason why I'm angling it this way is because those same people that don't have a problem that could do check the registry and all this other shit, they're trying to tell people that play console gaming, right, that they're in the wrong or they're lazy or whatever the case is.
So, real quick. So, what I'm saying is like, there's a convenience factor that like you can never like disregard, right? Like let's say you're staying in a really expensive hotel, right? And then they offer concierge service, right? Which is basically extra money, but concierge service is basically just convenience, right? That's what a console provides. Where you never have to worry about drivers, you never have to worry about any of that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? You just maybe the game needs an update, but you just hit the update button, and then it works. It works every fucking time. You don't have to worry about drivers. You don't have to worry about any of this bullshit. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to worry about switching components in and out, and in and out, and in and out. And like I used to do a little bit of PC gaming back in the day too, but I quit because it was like, dog, this is too much. And I had a kid. You know what I'm saying? It was like, man, I'm about to raise a kid. I ain't about to raise this fucking PC. So it's like, there's a convenience factor that is part of the price of console gaming and part of the value. You know what I'm saying? And I think that gets overlooked so much when motherfuckers just swear by PC gaming like, oh, this is the best shit. It's like, nigga, you gotta work 45 minutes to
No, because what you're saying, Upper, is that these particular people, they will sit there and tell you, I don't have to do this 45 minutes. It's just a click of a button. Okay, I digress. Let's agree to disagree. That's you. It's good. It's great for you. It's not great for me. You know what I'm saying? When a console player picks up a console, for the most part, because it's some weird shit going on this generation. But when a console player goes on with, for the most part, and they pick a console, it's two reasons. It's simpler to use, and it's cheaper. There's clearly, you don't have the control, and you don't have the power. But you sacrifice those two things for it being cheaper, or more bang for your buck, or it's simpler to use. I don't dispute that the PC is a stronger fucking. It has better hardware. It will always have better hardware. But there's a lot of things. What that guy was saying that I played that clip that you guys heard. What that guy said, he already deleted everything. That was a 25-minute video about there's a particular game that he played that just kept crashing. And he thought he cleared everything out, and he didn't. And you're muted, by the way, if you're trying to speak. So just keep an eye on there. He constantly was trying to figure out what was going on. And back in the day, I remember when I got a motherboard, right? I got it from, where the fuck did I get it from? Wherever I got it from, I got it from this place, right? It was used. This is my really first beginning shit, right? And it got shipped to me and everything like that. And there was like a hairline crack within the motherboard itself, something that you couldn't even detect. It caused a whole bunch of issues with the BIOS that was built into this particular motherboard and the CPU and stuff like that. It had at the time, it was so long ago, it had the megahertz fluctuating back and forth between 664 and 667 megahertz. This is a Pentium 3 back in the day. And things get easier over time. Yes, I get it. But you're still dealing with drivers. Systems and just in general are going to be more complicated. Even just making it look nice. There's still systems at play to make things look nice with the UI. The UI is actually coding as well to make it easier to use and simpler and whatever the case is. You had to kind of go fucking to the BIOS to start fucking with things back in the day when I used to fuck with it. And that was a big issue for me. So,
yeah, but some consoles have the same issues too, where you might get a broken console, and when you go buy, you don't know what you're gonna get in particular sometimes, and you gotta send that.
But how often? But hold on. But look, your Knight, how often?
Just go get.
But Knight, how often is that a particular issue?
Saying, not that all the
but it ain't. But like, here's the thing: the difference is this, right? I'm not troubleshooting either the motherboard or the CPU or the GPU or the heatsink or whatever the case is. If the bitch don't work, I'm sending it the fuck back and keeping it moving.
Right, I understand that, man. Sometimes people get denied their console for getting fixed.
But that's an outlier. That's an exception to the rule. That's an exception to the rule.
Yeah, you can just go replace that part, whether it's broken or not, or you feel like something wrong, you can go replace it. If you have that accessibility to go repair it yourself if you want.
But that's an exception. But that's an exception. But that's an exception to the rule. Look, whatever you're causing.
I think you're overestimating the simplicity and fixing shit when it comes to a console PC. And listen, we can talk back and forth all day, but good and goddamn well that if your console ain't working, it's much easier to get that shit fixed than troubleshoot and fix a PC.
I mean, I done fixed a couple of PS2s back in the day, so.
Hey, come on, man.
No, you know.
What's just more easy and more convenient?
Yeah.
If
you're trying to deny what we're saying right now, come on, man. It at all.
No, but I get it. But here's the thing: there's going to be some people that just don't have the time for that shit and don't want to do it. You got a lot of noise. I gotta mute you, man. You cooking this shit. Or whatever that is. Hold on for a minute.
But real shit though, Knight, let's take somebody like me, right? Like, I was in PC gaming probably 15 years ago.
And I got you Starlight right after Upper Room, by the way. We're going.
So yeah, hey, my bad, Starlight. But I had a gaming PC 15 years ago, right? Which is to me a week ago, because I'm old as fuck, right? So it don't really seem that long ago. But like, I knew what I was doing then. If I jumped into it now, you know what I'm saying? How much confusion I got rather than like the plug and play of consoles and the dummy proofness of a goddamn console. Like, you're a subject matter expert in PC gaming, drivers, all this stupid shit that you gotta do to make your game work good. But like, dog, like, you plug in a fucking Series X or PS5 and then 60 frames per second, 4K, some games, like come on, man, like the dummy proofness. I don't think you can do that.
I like how when you speak to people that do PC, they always do this weird thing talking about something. Oh, you got drivers too, nigga. The whole system updates everything. You don't have to worry about individual drivers, and I guess you have that particular.
None of that, like, oh, update. Press a button. You know, and the game does.
That's pretty much it. I don't need, the game does it. It's as a matter of fact, sometimes you be asleep.
We can be so stupid in console games. Like
I don't even think. Yo, wait, open room. And hold on, let me let Starlight go. Go on, Starlight.
Oh, I was going to say, how's everyone doing today? How are y'all? How was your, what day is it? So
Saturday the 15th.
how's y'all Saturday?
Hey, can I tell real quick, Starlight, because you opened a can of goddamn worms. I'm gonna tell you what I just now did, right? So,
All right.
so I've been talking to y'all for about a while now. So when I was cussing in the other space a second ago, it's because I'm a insurance adjuster, right? And I'm down here working in Florida. I left my clipboard 2 hours away in a different city. So I had to turn around and drive back to get that shit, and I'm frustrated, and I'm gonna cuss out anybody that's around me, and I apologize for everybody.
Man, I was laughing my ass off. The only thing I heard was, y'all can suck my dick, and then the mic went flat.
Yo, every time you spoke, it was like you were clipping, so it didn't even. It was you kept clipping.
I left my clipboard a couple goddamn cities away. I'm going through some shit, dog. Y'all don't know what people are going through sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Don't worry, upper room. Don't worry.
You had the whole group laughing. It was dead silent. We heard "suck my dick" from the back, and then everyone just fucking lost it, bro.
Hey man,
oh man.
Yeah, don't worry about it. We didn't hear shit.
Every form of entertainment wherever I can. You know what I'm saying? Like people understand the anger. You know what I'm saying? And I personally don't think that anybody really takes it to heart when I tell them to shut the fuck up or suck my dick. You know what I'm saying? Because that's just me.
All right, go on, Starlight.
Oh, anyway, so I was saying, so I saw the title, got me a little interested, being PC gamer and all.
Oh snap!
And in case I missed some of it, why do you loathe PC gaming?
So let me tell you this, right? Let me preface the conversation by telling you this is my opinion and it is unswayable, right? This is just my opinion. I know a lot of PC players don't really fuck with console gaming like that. You know, you have a superiority complex or whatever the hell you got. Yeah, you got a better piece of hardware, but that's not my reasoning for playing games. I've played games in horrible situations, 7 to 10 frames a second, thinking that shit was being cinematic matrix slow motion when the shit was struggling. So I don't particularly have a problem with 30 frames or whatever the case is. And even if I did play on PC, it would still be 30 frames. Let's add the overhead. I'm such a visual graphics whore. That's how I would like to play. Like if Cyberpunk, if I would have put all the ray traces and everything else up on that bitch, DLSS, all of that shit, and cap that bitch at 30 frames a second. That's how I would play. That's number one. Number two, I used to build PCs a while ago, and things got easier but harder. I'll put it that way. So,
how many years ago?
It was a long time ago, bro. It's a long time ago.
5, 10, 15.
It was a long time ago.
Okay, so what, because I know me personally, I consider myself an honest PC guy. I'm gonna be real. Yeah, my PC is pretty high end, but when shit goes wrong, boy, can it go wrong. Like just the other day, I had a part where my soundbar fucked up. I had to go in and physically uninstall the audio driver itself and reinstall a new one. Or if I have to fix something, I do have to go into the BIOS sometimes or tinker with the NVIDIA GeForce Experience app. So I do get that part.
Ugh.
PC gaming can be a bitch, don't get me wrong. But personally, I have to disagree with the 30 FPS because playing as Cyberpunk on psycho settings, fully maxed out is, oh man, it's an experience on its own.
Wait, hold on. Wait, are you disagreeing with me to run it at 30?
I disagree with the part of running at 38. I get what you're saying, trying to run it at 30, because that's like a visual thing that you personally enjoy, and I think that's cool.
Okay.
Me personally, though, I say higher than 30 is where it's at. Me personally, though.
Well, for me, it depends on the game. Some games can be played at 4K 30 and some 4K 60. That's how I look at it.
I feel like that's like that too. Like fighting games, obviously you want to have the highest frame rate possible, but
Oh, hell yeah.
Racing games also depends. Like racing games, you can stick at 60 or you make it a little bit. I mean, because ultimately you're not getting paid for it, so you're not that professional. You know what I mean? To be having 120 frames. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there is diminishing returns in general. You know, like for instance, cell phones. There is a, how can I put it? There like my phone has a 4K resolution on a 6.2 inch screen. There's no point for it. It's a flex at that point in time.
Sometimes probably. Right?
It's always 4K, but there's a clear flex when it comes to that shit, and that's fine.
Right. I understand.
You know what I'm saying? But there's like people talk about something. I need to have the game run at 300 frames a second and shit like that. I mean, that's good for you.
Like I said, I ain't got no issue with the graphics at all. You know.
I know you don't. I know you don't. But this is for
in the back, and I don't give a 30 or 60. I play on TV.
I totally.
Trust and believe, there's plenty of PS2, Xbox games that ran at 30 frames per second. We didn't give a fuck back then. We just played the game. You know what I'm saying? It was all about how the game plays. To me, it's always been like that.
And that's what I'm wondering. It's the weirdo bullshit that's coming out there. So to answer your question, Starlight, you still with me?
Yeah, I'm here, bro.
So my issue is the drivers, is the shit that could go wrong. You know what I mean? Like I was saying earlier, there was like a hairline fracture within the motherboard that I had to take everything out that you would use to build the PC and swap it out until I found out that it was the entire motherboard that was the issue. That was causing whatever signal leakage that was given. What do you call it? The clock speed of the CPU was making that shit fluctuate. And it was throwing everything the fuck off when it came to the BIOS. It worked enough, but it was like weirdo shit like that. I have a decent laptop, right? I don't use it for gaming or anything like that, but it can run like I would use it for an emulator in terms of that, right? When I first got this laptop, the issue, I couldn't shut the computer down. I couldn't put it in hibernation mode and wake it up again and keep my sound for some reason. And you know, I was like, bro, for months, it was Windows that conflicted with the BIOS. And you get to a point like, I don't feel like dealing with this shit. I mean, I've never felt like it, but you get this disingenuous shit. There's two things that I don't like. The first thing that I don't like in general is the fact that there's a lot of PC gamers that run around saying that I don't have that many problems. And be that as it may, you act like there's no fucking problems, or they downplay the fact that it's an easier experience on the console. It just will always be easier. That's what that's the design. That's what it's designed to do.
Hey, look, PC does have problems. Let me tell you something. When Scoring came out, I had a hard time getting that shit to boot. I had to install that shit like 3 or 4 or 5 times to get that shit to work. So yes, PC does have problems.
Oh yeah, when PC gamers say that there's no problems with PC gaming, that's a straight up lie. Like I said, I may not have a lot of problems, but when I do, it is a big problem, and it can take up to an entire day to fix. I just don't feel like it. And to me, there's a certain level of like diminishing returns. Like back in 2007, 8, 9, when shit was running Crysis, that was such a definitive, like, there's nothing topping that. You know what I mean? That console shit was like real, like that shit was extra fucking weak. You know what I mean? Now we're at a point in time where we're counting pixels at this point. You know what I'm saying? I mean, yeah, you can do 120 frames a second, and yeah, all of these systems, including PC, has some sort of upscaler or reconstruction going on, because 4K, depending on who you are, may be important or may not be important. But there's a lot of features with the exclusion of ray tracing that is, to me, is diminishing returns. It's not enough for me to spend $1,500.
With a quick, now I may be wrong about this, right? Now this may be some dumbass shit, right? But, okay, now this is probably going to be some stupid, or it's going to be the rightest shit you've ever heard, and you won't know it for a year and a half, right? So this is what I'm saying. Like, we're talking about a lot of these games. It's like, oh man, this is 30 frames per second, yada yada yada, boo 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 boo, right? Like, I don't think that like we've actually entered this generation of console.
We didn't. We absolutely didn't.
So I tweeted some shit because my hear me out. My tweets are motherfucking gold mines, right? But they get no love. But like I tweeted out earlier that the PC minimum spec requirement is snitching on these devs, right? Because in my mind, right, if the minimum spec requirement is lesser than that of current gen consoles, then your game couldn't have possibly been developed for next gen consoles. You
That's absolute facts. And there's too many people.
Now you see the way I look at it is that the first party always show off what the hardware is capable of doing. Never look to a third party to what a system can do because they have to develop for multiple systems. And when you're a first-party dev, so you can get down to the metal of that system and really get that power out of it. You feel what I'm saying? So always look for.
No, but he's right. If you can start taking things away and getting the core gameplay to work, then that's fine. Let me let Lazy Gamer go. Lazy.
I don't know, my bad. I was just saying, for gaming stuff, like, so for example, I sold my Xbox and I use my PC specifically for games that are not on PlayStation.
Cool.
But I do agree, it has issues. I'm one of those people that say I don't have as many issues, but I also give the caveat, I work in IT, I've worked in security and IT for 15 years, so not having that many issues, it's like irrelevant to me because I've fixed other people's problems so much that I know people have issues. But I still prefer it. I prefer the flexibility of it. But that don't mean I still don't like the convenience of a console. And I even like the idea of a Steam Deck. I have a Steam Deck. I actually would prefer if the support got better that PC gaming started to become more like console gaming where there was an actual mode you boot into Windows and it just says this is, gaming mode to where none of that other stuff is there and it's literally just a whole
that would be lit. That would be fire. And that's not to say I'm gonna let Sternben go after this. I'm not here to say that PC has issues all over the place. All I'm saying is convenience, and that's the reason why consoles will always exist. There's a reasons why you can't have that container that is just Windows, and it's just a Windows gaming version. Maybe in the future, I don't know, but from what I can see, I don't think Microsoft would allocate that much. You know what I mean? I don't think they will put that much stock into doing something like that. Like they don't really care that deeply for a system like that.
In my mind, I apologize real quick, but the market for the people that just want convenience seems to me bigger and more like maybe I've just been in this market longer. You know what I'm saying? Of console gamers that like don't want to deal with that shit. But like for the games, the AAA games that these motherfuckers are dropping, that's why they give Madden away for free on PC with EA Play because nobody buys Madden on PC. You know what I'm saying? Like the console is where all these gamers that these AAA titles are focused at go to, and like we make the money because we conveniently just say, dog, we'll buy a $500 system and pay $70 for a game. Like you PC motherfuckers be trying to steal shit and wait for kills and go back and forth between like 7 different goddamn launchers and shit like that. It's like, nigga, it's not that hard. Just buy the fucking game and keep it moving. You know what I'm saying?
No, but that's their let me let Sternben go. Go on, man.
My bad.
Okay, so I have a couple of things to touch on. I do agree with y'all 1,000% about the issues that do come with PC gaming that a lot of PC elitists try to downplay. Like, all right, so I've been a PC gamer for about 3 years. And I always tell people that. Like, I understand why console will always continue to be more popular. It's the simplicity. It's the same reason why majority of people grab iPhones. It's because you know it's going to work. You don't got to do any tweaks. You know the pictures are already going to be an A+. Because let's be realistic. You can tweak a photo to be better on Android, but you got to know how to tweak it. But Apple, you know you're going to take that picture and you're going to get the best quality that you can without making those adjustments. But that was the main thing I want to touch on. I wanted to touch on the minimal specs for
100%. 100%. Oh, wait. Don't go. No. Don't go yet. Don't go yet. Because that's the next topic. I'm gonna wrap this up because, bro, I got some shit to say about that, man. Oh my gosh, yo. So
I only have a little bit to go.
No, go on. Say what you gotta say, because you know.
What I was going to say was, if y'all paid attention, the minimum specs for Gotham Knights is a 1660 Ti. A 1660 Ti is way stronger than an Xbox Series S. An Xbox Series S has about 4 teraflops of GPU power,
I know specs on paper really don't mean shit. I do understand that 100%, but you know, Xbox Game Boys, they love specs on paper, so that's why I always bring that up. The 1660 Ti is 40% stronger than that. So if you need a 1660 Ti to get that game at 1080p with the very lowest possible settings, that's what it literally says. 1080p at 60 FPS with the very lowest settings require a 1660 Ti. I really feel like the reason why we don't have a 60 FPS mode is because of console parity. A lot of people point out that Sony, air quotes, blocked devs from adding other features, but who's to say Microsoft not doing the same thing?
They all are. They all are. All of them are. They're doing.
Realistic, yes, but for console wars, obviously they ignored it. The logical sense is yes, they do that. Nintendo can't force you to do that because you can't force parity with the Switch. It's too fucking far behind. But
you can do parity with features. You can do parity with features, or say that. You know what I'm saying? You can do that, but not like technical. No, you can't do technical shit. No.
Not with the Switch.
We don't know what none of these parity clauses say, and that's scary.
Agreed. But at the end of the day, like I said, like the minimum specs to even get it at the very lowest settings, which is why I do believe Gotham Knights will be one of those games that is ray trace or none at all. Because you know how the new Metro Enhanced Edition, the Metro Exodus Enhanced Edition, you can't use that if you can't play that if your GPU is incapable of ray tracing. And I feel like
see, what I think it is the ray tracing, because our DNA too, from a PC spec, type of person, our DNA too is not that good at ray tracing as in video. Because trust me,
agreed.
I tried to play Fortnite on my RX 6650 XT, right? That is the same power as the 2080, right? And I also have a 3050. I have an RTX 3050. That RTX 3050 beats that motherfucking GPU in ray tracing in Fortnite. And that GPU is way powerful than that 3050.
And I always point that out. That's why I used to use the NVIDIA AMD thing as an example as to why people shouldn't look at specs on paper as a win. Because when the Series X came out, they kept on pointing out how it was stronger than the PS5. And I'm like, if you really look at it, the 5700 XT is like 20% stronger than the 2060 Super. But the 2060 Super curves off the fuck out of that card, no matter which configuration. And that's because specs on paper really don't mean anything. It's optimization, and AMD drivers are bullshit. And that's just the
I wish you say it louder for the fucking people in the back, because I'm gonna tell you right now, hold on. You got dishes in the background and shit.
I'm sorry, nah. My wife was looking at this little book.
She body slam. She power driving dishes and shit.
You said what now?
I said she power driving dishes and shit. Like.
No. I just had to check on the food because I was cooking. That's all.
Hey, what chip do the consoles use? Do they use AMD or
AMD? They use AMD.
No, I wouldn't even say unfortunately. So you're going.
But trust me, the Series S can do 1440p 6.
It can.
Can do 60 frames per second.
It can.
Depending on the game now.
No. I'm gonna tell you. No, hold on. Wait. I'm gonna tell you this. With optimization, I said this in the other space, right? And I wish, I kind of want to post this shit in this space. I don't feel like it though. You guys got to do your own research or DM me and I'll send it to you. I'm going to tell you this, right? Straight off the block, right? Game Boy Advance does not have any 3D hardware accelerator. There's no rasterizer for anything of that nature, right? It pushes pixels. That's all it can do, right? Somebody managed to put the old PlayStation 1 Tomb Raider in the fucking Game Boy Advance in 3D. It doesn't have 3D hardware, but they still made it to do it, and it could do it, and it runs at 30 frames a second. That's why.
Interesting.
Can I say one thing about my very, very, very slim understanding of how computers work? Right now, keep in mind, in the year 2002, 2003, I was in college to make video games. I dropped out of college. Don't worry about that shit, right? But I used to be programming and shit 17 years ago, right? But my understanding, and I don't know if shit still works the same way it does 17, 20, damn near 20 years ago, right? But I don't think people quite have a grasp on like what's going on between these consoles.
They
right?
don't. They don't.
So now hear me out, right? So like the Series S, the Series X, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, 1, like the people say teraflops is a nonsensical word, and I believe that statement or that thought is bullshit because most folks don't understand what a teraflop is, right? A teraflop is basically the number of calculations that a computer system can do in a given second or millisecond or whatever, right? So it's like, let's say we're playing a video game, right? And you shoot a building with a rocket, and that building breaks into 1,000 pieces. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it can't break into those 1,000 pieces on lesser hardware because all that shit is calculations. All those shit are teraflops. You know, floating point calculations, right? So the thing is, like, I know it gets divided into like graphics and CU calculations, right? But at the end of the day, you do the math, and it comes to an overall teraflop number of total calculations a system can do, right? And if something can do 4 teraflops, and a different system can do 12, and then these PCs can do, what, fucking 30, 40, 50? I don't fucking know. I don't.
The 4090 is 83 teraflops.
83. So, right. So that's trillions of calculations per, like, second, right? So what we're actually talking about is how complex a game can be. Because a calculation is complexity, right? So a Series F game, if it's working on 4 teraflops, right, and then the Series X is working on 12, it can only be 1/4 as complex as the Series X game statistically on paper, because that's how numbers work. Am I wrong about that, or is that not how numbers work anymore because I'm too old?
Well, wait. But let me. I got you on this one, right? But let me let who was trying to speak.
Like, somebody tell me if I'm wrong about how numbers work.
No, you're right. You're right, but there's a caveat. Who was trying to speak?
It was me.
All right, go on.
So generally speaking, yes, you are right on the whole front of teraflops and all that other stuff. Yes, that is a general idea of how things work, but in all reality, it's not as cut and dry as that. Because, prime example, certain games or certain effects benefit more from just having a higher core count versus less teraflops and less CU cores. Prime example, I forgot which game it was, but it ran better on a PlayStation 5 because one of the effects required a higher GPU clock speed, which the PlayStation 5 hits 2.23, and the Xbox Series X only hit 1.8. So it's kind of hand in hand because some things can be offloaded to the CPU as well. Like there's certain lighting effects that back in the day, games will also give you an option. Do you want this effect to be CPU accelerated or GPU accelerated? So it's kind of hand in hand. Some get better on benefits, so on and so forth. But generally speaking, yes, teraflops is a general idea, but it's only a general idea if everything gets optimized straight across the board. Because at the end of the day, something with 9 teraflops could easily beat something with 10 teraflops or even 12 teraflops if the drivers and the optimization isn't there, simply put.
Right, and here's the thing. There's
certain features.
Go on, man. Go on.
I was saying, certain features, if you ever done the customizations on PC, right? They'll have a thing that's like, your GPU has 16 gigs, and it's like, as you slide the whatever the mystic color, the whatever for the water, all this other stuff, it will slowly go you and show you a percentage of how much you have free on your virtual memory. Where on PCs, a lot of those higher end GPUs have a crap ton of virtual memory. A lot of those features, not all games take that into account, but there are a lot of games that, in order to do that just having that versus not having that, that's the whole reason you kept seeing stuff like the 3080 where they were trying to do like, what, a 12 gigabyte one and all these other variations because certain things prioritize that based on how they're coded.
Yeah, an actual perfect example is Far Cry 6. Fun fact, the 3080 can't do Far Cry 6 at a locked 60 FPS at 4K due to the fact that it doesn't have enough VRAM. If you have the 12 gigabyte variant, yes, you can. But if you have the 10 gigabyte variant, if you get close up to certain textures, you usually drop like 10, 15 frames.
This is true because I have a 3080 and I played it on there.
Yeah, funny? I actually have the MSI Ventus.
ask you smart ass PC motherfuckers another question then, right? Because like I personally, maybe I'm a goddamn rube, right? And I believe what motherfuckers are saying too much, right? But as these motherfuckers are selling the next generation of consoles, right? And explaining to me technologically how things are going to work differently from the last generation of consoles, I believe that, right? Now, the difference to me, architecturally wise, between like a generation of console and a PC is like, PCs don't move like that. You know what I'm saying?
No,
so, like,
they don't.
The mid-spec may go a little bit higher and a little bit higher, but it's like, you get what I'm saying? So it's like, if I make a...
I'm talking about as far as specs from version to version?
Okay, so let me explain what I'm saying, because I don't think I know exactly what I'm saying to make it...
Are you trying to point out how this generation of consoles is the biggest leap we've seen in technology for consoles?
And okay, yes. So what I'm trying to say is, okay, so with the technological leap that we have in consoles, right? And then if you have a marginal leap in like the minimum spec required, let's say we have a game that is a third-party game that comes out on consoles and PC as well, right? And you know the argument today of like Gotham Knights and everything from the dev and everything like that. So the lowest common denominator is going to hamstring the whatever you're trying to make, right?
It's the weakest. It's the weakest link. Yeah.
The weakest link, right? So, can the PC be that weakest link if the minimum spec for the PC is less than the spec for current gen consoles and what current gen consoles can do?
How would it be the lowest if there's so many other more powerful hardwares to where you don't?
No. Listen. Hold on. Right. When these new consoles came out, right? Notice how they were focusing on speed, right?
Yeah.
People always want to relegate the speed to loading times, and that's not what they're doing. You mentioned something, Upper, in terms of you have a certain amount of instructions that you can do, trillions of instructions that you can do within a second, right?
Uh-huh.
What if you streamed these instructions according to what you needed? So instead of having the engine calculate everything at once, you only calculate what you need. That'll give the hold on, wait. That'll give you the illusion that you have more horsepower than you technically do if you can find a streaming solution fast enough to either unload and load this shit according to where you need it.
Okay, so listen, already happened. Wait a minute, real quick. Listen, I know for a fact right now that you heard the same shit I heard, because that's the mindset that I'm on, is what Mark Cerny was talking about, right? So if that is what someone is developing for, right? Now let's say you know how Gotham Knights is, and y'all said what? Did y'all say 1060?
1660 Ti.
Yeah.
16 Ti,
Yep.
right? If the 16 Ti can't do that shit, right? That Mark Cerny's talking about, and that is this generation. Like, is it just Series S that's the bottleneck, or is it also possibly trying to develop for a PC marketplace who doesn't have the hardware?
They haven't changed the paradigm. So this is what I was saying before. This goes for PC hardware as well. The paradigm for game creation hasn't changed yet. They're still going the old way. And
they're still making last generation games, right?
Essentially, they're making the last generation games.
Yes.
It's not just me. Thank you.
Nah, but you gotta look at it though. They haven't taken advantage of all these features in these consoles just yet.
Right.
I mean,
that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying exactly that.
Yeah, but like when is the game that they make, right? When is the game that they make? Like third party game that they make, right? Mm-hmm. Is it gonna have the minimum spec requirements that are like, dog, this game generation console. It has to.
Yo, Upper Room, you cutting out, man. You're gonna have to consolidate your shit because you cut out a lot.
Nah, but did you know?
I'm in Bumfuck, Florida, dog.
Nah, did you know that Scorn is the first game to use direct storage on Xbox?
No, they said they claim right. They claim that it was Forza was. That's what they claimed.
What does that mean?
So, can I explain DirectX storage?
Yeah.
One of y'all explain it. I don't know what it means.
So basically, what it is, it's a different. All right. So right now, one of the advantages that console have on PC, console have a universal way to communicate with GPU decompression without having to use the CPU as a bottleneck. So
there's too many words. Back up a little bit.
So basically, in order for the throughput to happen, the data must go through the CPU to be
shrunken,
right?
Okay.
But with direct storage, that allows the GPU to directly talk to your M.2. So instead of having the CPU as a middle ground, which can also cause CPU stutter and things of that nature, the GPU can get those textures directly from it. So it's much faster in a sense, since the PCIe lanes are much closer. Instead of going through the PCIe lane, through the CPU, then back down the PCIe lane to the GPU to draw it. You get what I'm saying?
So let me say this. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. Think of it like water, a water system, right? And that will be the equivalent of bandwidth. You have to move data back and forth, right? And you want to have these pipes clean, so you know what I mean. You want to have these pipes empty so you can move the data around. When you have things that you have to compress, because you have to shrink it, right? Like pack it up, fold it like clothes, and then move it. That way, it don't take that much space within these pipes, and then unload it. That usually takes CPU time or GPU time, depending on whatever it is. So direct storage.
Perfect analogy.
Huh?
I got a button to say that. That is a perfect analogy. I already have the button to say that. Like, that was perfect explanation. Continue, bro.
So what they...
Another example I would give is if you look at networking, if you have a 1 gigabit switch and you have a 100 megabyte in between that connecting to another 1 gigabit, you're not going to get 1 gigabit on that whole path. You're getting limited by what's in between on the route it has to take.
Now let me tell you this. This is a rude... Hold on. This
real life scenario, right? My house has Cat 5 cables, but I got Cat 6 internet, but I'm only getting Cat fucking 5 internet because I got Cat 6 5 cables, right? That's what we're talking about.
No, just think of it like this, right? Because all games, you have to move data from one. You have to, right? You have to move data from the disk, right?
Data.
From the disk to the CPU where it calculates, things that move or whatever the case is, and the GPU, which it creates the world itself. But
so the problem is how fast that data moves, right?
It's not about how fast; it's about getting the information over. And usually, the way that they do it, in efficient way, is that they fold the data, make it smaller, so you can move through the pipes. Now, that takes CPU time for somebody to unfold it and then give it to whoever that to use it, right? So direct storage is allowing that you skip that, right? But it does take GPU time for somebody, because the CPU is, you don't want the CPU to do that shit because it'll cause stutters and shit.
Does compression and decompression.
Are you breaking up? Say again.
So direct storage does compression and decompression.
Basically direct storage is freeing up the CPU so it won't be stressed out, so it can do other things. Essentially, it makes it easy.
Well, that is the throughput of the bus, because in most PC games, even the higher ones now, most of them aren't really taxing CPUs that are recent.
But it still gives it a pause, because it has to, you know what I'm saying, it has to look at it. So you're stopping it. You're basically stopping it from like having to search for it. It gets handed to them directly.
Basically, you can look at it this way. It's like, instead of running pipes up the street around a corner just to go out to your backyard, you just running pipes directly to your backyard. Just think of it that way. It's a shorter path for the Texas and all that to travel. So it's just much more convenient, because the GPU is limited to its VRAM.
Oh lordy. I would say this, right? See, this is what it is, right? Each console has its own pros and cons. The Series X and the PS5, right? You have those little things in there, and then you have more compute units or workers to build things, right? what they ended up doing with the I/O throughput is that it doesn't rely on the CPU or GPU at all. It's its own processor, which frees up both. You know what I'm saying? And that's why stutters don't really impact a lot of the PlayStation games out there too. But there's weaknesses along with that too. My whole thing is this: they specifically they went for speed because they don't want the whole world of the game that you're playing to be loaded and processed. They want portions of it, but it needs to be fast enough to unload when you're not looking at it and then load when you're looking at it. You know what I'm saying? That way.
Yeah, Ratchet and Clank is a perfect example. The way how they did those reps, they had enough throughput that they could actually leave those upper portal worlds in memory, so they don't got to keep calling for them. That's why.
But the funny thing is for Ratchet and Clank, I said the funny thing with Ratchet and Clank, you didn't even need the suggested SSD. You could have had something like half the speed and it still did it. So they're still not really using it. You know what I mean?
No, don't get me wrong. Theoretically, on paper, the PS5's throughput is supposed to be in upwards of 19,000 megabits per second. That's higher than what PCIe 5.0 is capable of.
And it's not. But the thing is, people think, right, that when console players, especially with the people kind of know what they're doing, they think that we're saying that it's better than the PC. It has nothing to do with that. So they have a budget to do R&D for the PS5 or Series X, right? And there's some pieces within the CPU and GPU that's not necessary for a gaming console because it's not doing things like Excel or fucking, a browser or whatever the case is. So that'd be wasted money to make those transistors. So instead, they take those transistors and make custom hardware to make sure that they'll be able to extend the longevity of that particular hardware. They keep it in the game.
Let me ask you a question though, right? So let's take it back to and this is what I was saying, right? This is basically the I don't know. Now I don't think we're not there yet. We're not getting these games yet, but this is like best case scenario. When we're getting these games like how y'all are saying they were. You know what I'm saying? Like we're running through the I/O throughput and reducing the fucking bottlenecks and shit that are happening in these games that don't let us see all the shit that we need to see when we need to see them, right? So let's say the PlayStation 5 and the Series X are doing this, right? A third-party game, you can't even develop it like that, right? Because the Series S don't work like that.
No. So I get what you're saying. So we might as well just jump into the second topic, which is the gaming, the fucking Gotham Knights, right? But to answer your question, right? Like I said before, the paradigm for game creation, that type of game creation, hasn't happened for anything yet. And wait, hold on, the PC, hold on, wait, let me answer your question. Hold on, let me answer your question first. You asked the question, let me answer this one.
Yeah, my bad.
So the PC is also going to be doing this shit too, but they're going to bump up the minimum requirement eventually, right? But right now we're getting like these quasi last generation and current generation type games. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're really getting. So the advancements haven't been done for either. Like we haven't seen what this generation could do, period, for any of these things.
Okay, so let me ask you a question then. One more question, because I don't know if you know this. I love a good "I told you so." You know what I'm saying? And this is the shit I've been saying. Now I may not know the technicalities of everything like y'all do, but I get the generalities of it, right? So I've been saying that, like, when we do finally get these games that are quote-unquote next-gen games and shit, I'm saying that the minimum spec PC requirements are going to snitch on these games.
They have, right? No, I get you. They have already been snitching on them. I think what you're saying is an extremely astute assessment. I really do. It's showing you that you theoretically could do it, but you need a little bit more time. In terms of the people who's making Gotham Knights, this was a clear decision because they are on too many platforms. It would delay the game or whatever the case is. This isn't a Series S thing. This isn't the current.
That's not a technological decision. That's a business decision.
It's a
right?
And people forgot this.
It's the engine. It's the engine. The engine is the same as an Arkham Knight.
But I'm gonna get. Hold on. Wait. Let me say this, because I'm gonna touch on exactly what you're saying, and I'll shut up. Right? You're absolutely right. It's the engine, because again, people forgot that up until recently, this was a cross generation game. It was going to be released for the Xbox One and the PS4. They made a decision recently that they're going to be just next generation only, and that automatically should tell you that the engine hasn't moved. So here's the thing: if anybody knows about cars, right? Engines are similar to real engines, right? If I have a 1997 Honda Civic that has 80 horses, right? 80 horsepower, right? Even if I supercharge that bitch and add all sorts of things, it can only go but so far with that engine block. The engine block just can't handle it. Just like what Knight was saying, this engine is pushed to its limits. I'm sure they can kind of tweak it here and there to get something decent out of it, but eventually you're going to have to basically start from scratch and leave the foundation, whatever the engine is kind of good at, and just work from there. They don't have time to do that. I'll shut up. Whoever want to talk, you can talk.
Okay. The thing I was saying also as well is if you look at, you're talking about the specs for the PC, right? Mm-hmm. I know at least from a PC standpoint, the last couple of years, with all the shortages, the only real big leap we've had in the last couple of generations was more the 30 series. Because the 20 series was not that big of a leap. So a lot of people, PC, at least that I know, didn't get it because all it did was offer ray tracing. Ray tracing was in infancy. So I believe, even with everything with the minimum spectrum of a PC, because of those shortages, just like they had where they were doing, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, there's going to be people that when they're developing for the PC, they're still developing by the percentage of all the gamers that are out there. What specs are they actually using? What specs are most people actually able to get easily for the devices, just like when they were doing the same thing for PS4 and Xbox One?
Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Oh, you just got okay. So that's my whole thing. You see a lot of PC elitists, right? Talking about how this game is indicative of how poor or how weak these consoles are. You can try all day, every day to compare these specs to a PC. Once again, you can compare them, that's fine, and it'll be similar. But you got to understand, there's also programming, and there's also the custom hardware that's in there, and there's also the fucking software. I told you before, they managed to make a fucking 2D CPU run a 3D game. It does not have hardware to make a 3D game, and they still made it work. So that goes on paper. The GBA should be about a Super NES, right? On paper, but the Super NES couldn't run.
You gotta look at it, dude. It's like I say, it's the developers and it's the engine, because you seen the Unreal Engine 5 demos and shit. You know exactly what these consoles can do. They just haven't changed over engines. They haven't built nothing ground up just yet for these consoles.
And it's not even just these consoles. It's just these new fucking games, these new hardwares. So I am going to say a couple of things, right?
I got one more thing to say. But like I said, they're not taking advantage of these features like the VRS, the meshing. Like, they not taking advantage of none of that shit just yet.
We don't, but here's the thing. One could argue and say that we don't know, right? So here's the thing. I'll say this, right? For all the people, and I feel like the developer knew that they kind of fucked up and they ran out of time. They start throwing fucking the Series X or Series S under the bus and shit. Like, well, he's not a developer for this particular game. But at this point in time, we have Dying Light that runs near 1440p at 60 frames a second, untethered, and 4-player co-op, which arguably the engine is more complicated because it has to do parkour, all these RPG elements, so many different enemies on the screen. This shit look like the Arkham games with other people. You know what I'm saying? So all these physics and all this other crazy shit that goes on in Dying Light 2, it can run 4-player co-op at 60 frames a second untethered. So yeah, there could be like little, one-offs as to why this could happen. But don't tell me as a developer it's impossible, which they didn't really. But it's just funny to me how this is what irritates me about a lot of these PC elitists, because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. But let me go here. Like I did 3 years of programming back in the day, and I stopped. You know what I mean? So it's not like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So let me go ahead and allow who. Yo, Kurt, I thought you were going in. What happened? Invite to speak. And then Fred, you might as well start. Go on, Fred. Fred, you there?
I don't know what happened there, but I think I came through towards like the end, so I don't really have much to contribute. But I will say from like a development standpoint, like with games and stuff like that, I was like a big World of Warcraft player from when I was like 15, right? And that game is still going up until now. The computer I had when I originally started to play World of Warcraft, mind you, the game engine is still the same. If I was supposed to load up World of Warcraft today on that engine, it's gonna it wouldn't even run. But like the idea is that like I feel like people are always considered graphics and like physics and all that stuff, but people never really consider the calculation that goes into the actual game, right? Like if you pick up a weapon and suddenly your stats change, and it's like every time you swing a weapon, the game has to calculate and do all that equation like within that moment to see what random number you're gonna get. But now if you're like adding 4 players and now all 4 players are doing calculations at the same time, then the enemy's doing calculations at the same time, I feel like there is a limit. Sadly, despite how far we are with gaming, like something like GTA Online, right? I think that caps that at like 20 players or something like that. Ideally, it shouldn't cap out, right? Because we have the technology and everything, but because these games are so much more demanding, there's so much more like, there's this AI, there's the calculations, there's all these little like minor things the computer also has to calculate for, despite these engines getting better and the hardware getting better. It's just like your iPhone, right? People be like, oh, I updated my iPhone and Apple's trying to slow me down. It's like, not really. Your phone is actually more secure and it's fine. What happens is they unlock more features and these developers take more,
processing power,
more resources and all that good stuff. So I think it's just one of those, at least that's where I'm coming from. Sorry, I didn't get the time.
Hey, Kurt, can I challenge one thing that you might have said with some stupidity, right? like we have this, I believe we have this thought like, yo, this game should work better than this, right? Mm-hmm. I'm thinking like, dog, with the hardware we're running on this shit, should it though? You know what I'm saying? Because I think that's an actual question. That like, and once again, Rockstar or whatever dev, I think he was trying to bring this up like, dog, y'all motherfuckers got some expectations, but y'all gotta realize like what fucking hardware we devs are putting this shit on, right? So in best case scenario, running off of like the highest powered 2022 like hardware, like PC, whatever you can do, yeah, that shit would run at 1 billion frames per second. But motherfucker, you got a $212 Series S. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Well, let me say this, right? Because you cutting out. I'm gonna say this, right? In terms of Kerr, we have a game.
Once again, I apologize. I came in at the tail end of the conversation, so it was just what I basically was catching at is just like, why isn't console why aren't the games performing a certain way on the next generation stuff? So forgive me if I I gave an input that was irrelevant.
No. It's a question that people at face value will ask. It's a point that people at face value would make if they didn't have this particular information. There's a couple of PC guys in here really good. They know their shit, like all together. The thing is, right, we have Dying Light 2 that runs at 60 frames a second and near 1440p and 4-player co-op already on these consoles. And it's the next version, it's a next generation version. And arguably it's a more complicated engine. You know, you have parkour and all this other shit that's going on. Now the thing is, the more people you have, the more the game has to take an instance of where this enemy is and what it's doing and copy that to the other players so it can have a cohesive world, which takes processing power. Cool. But you still have about 15 fucking zombies on the screen and 4 people with these particle systems and shit like that, and it's running at a stable 60 frames a second already. So what's going on with this Gotham Knights is the question. Not only that, but Gotham Knights was a cross-generation game up until a few months ago when they said they want to only make it for the next generation consoles. So don't think that they scrapped the shit and then started over again. All they did was stop working on those SKUs or development kits or whatever the case is and try to brute force whatever they got. It's not optimized for any of these things.
It would sound like to me, from like a development standpoint, it seems like I'm not sure why they would cancel it for next generation, or maybe they didn't see a profit, whatever.
No, it's the other way around. They canceled it for last generation, PS4 and Xbox One.
Yeah, my apologies, but like it seemed like they probably were doing some sort of development, and then some higher up was like, "Fuck that shit, only like newer gen," and it just seems like the only reason we're not getting, well, not that I was anticipating this game, but I've been seeing the discussions on the timeline. I would think that this is just like the publisher not wanting to spend more money to kind of go back and just like fix it, like, you know, make it
less money invested from deving. Also, they don't want a Cyberpunk.
In time, and let's keep it a buck. I don't think they have enough time. I wouldn't dare call them lazy. I just flat out say that they don't have enough time to make sure it works across the board, or the decision. PS4 and Xbox One, especially the old Xbox One, right before they overclocked it, right? They probably be like, "Yo, it legitimately can't run at 60 frames a second. And what if we do cross generation like co-op? And then they're running at 30, and then other people are running at 60. They just said, fuck it. You know what I mean? I just don't have the time to optimize. Let's just say 30. People like graphics. Keep it the fuck moving. You know?
Can I tell you my theory for this one?
Yo, I'm going to tell you right now, Upper, you got to consolidate, man, because you keep cutting out, man.
Listen, I'm in Florida driving city to city because this is my job, dog.
I get it, but I want to hear what you say. Like, I don't have a problem with what you're saying, period. It's just that...
I'm honest with you. What I'm saying probably isn't that important.
No, I think it is. I think it is.
I think it is.
I think it is.
He just knows, you know? He knows, and he's like, nigga, this message ain't that important.
No, it is, because you raised something. I'm going to take that shit with me. When you said that those minimal requirements is kind of like telling on. But what you going to say?
Okay, so,
oh, wait, pause. Starlight, Lazy Gamer, there's a PC gamer that's in here that's about to speak. And if you could,
Hey, real shit, if somebody's got their hands up, I'm driving, so I'm not looking at my phone.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
I'm not respecting any hands because I can't see your hands, so you should probably cut me the fuck off.
No, keep going.
I mean, so, listen, I don't know, man. Like, it just seems to me that, like, the developers are at this middle ground, right? Of fucking cross-gen, right? And this is what happens, right? So sometimes when they're developing this cross-gen game, trying to get a little bit out of the next console and every fucking thing they possibly can out of the last console, right? Imagine Gotham Knights. It only runs 30 frames per second on PlayStation 5 and Series X. The fuck is PlayStation 4?
There we go.
They had to put in with like the capabilities of the next gen.
Yep, you're beat by booing.
breaking up real bad, bro.
Did my sentiment come through though? Like I made.
No, it didn't. All we heard is beat by boot.
God damn it! Listen, this is bumfuck Florida. Blame Ron.
Nope, no. I'm blaming you. You better get Verizon out there.
Stop.
Let me let okay. Oh, he's really bad right now. Let me let Bless go.
Bless, go ahead. Tell me what I'm talking about.
I don't know what you're going at, man.
I don't know. He said something. I don't know. You wanted to talk. So, yo, upper room. You're gone. You're gone at this point. Like your shit is fucked. Go on, Bless.
That man's in a different realm, bro. This man is just gone, bro. This man is in the Matrix right now. Oh God, this man is in the Matrix.
Yo, it's like when Neo fucking touched that mirror. He's
Bro, this man. What the fuck going on? This man's in the fourth dimension right now. But so alright. So I guess the topping point was what, Gotham Knights now?
No, whatever you wanted to say. Yeah, whatever you wanted to say. It doesn't matter. It could be either or.
Nah, what I was gonna say is like, yeah, I agree that I think it was Upper that said that. Yeah, the minimum specs is very telling for console games. Yes, I agree with that, and also I agree with oh god, sorry, I'm playing Call of Duty right now, and also agree with what was it? It was another point. Oh, that PC is technically the lowest common denominator. Yeah, I agree, and it is the lowest common denominator until minimum specs, of course, rises. But essentially, anyone can like at least try to boot a game on their PC, even though it's low. Even though that the minimum specs for that game or minimum specs for any game, like you can still try and boot a game and maybe still get a playable performance with that game. It's like that's the thing. Like people boot what do you call it? People boot games under their minimum specs and have them run all the time. It's just the thing about PC is that some people don't understand is that minimum and recommended specs are. I mean, recommended is starting to get like more of a actual
experience, the intended experience.
Yeah. Recommended is starting to get an actual like definition as to what the fuck it means in terms of like what they expect. But previously speaking, like minimum specs is like you don't know what that means. Is that minimum spec to turn on the game, like the game boot? Is that minimum specs for 30 FPS? But like for in this case, it's 60 FPS at low on 1080p low. Yeah, so that's what that is. But go. Sorry.
So basically, minimum specs, it is basically what you said. Because like you said, people boot games all the time on hardware that's lower than the intended experience. Minimum specs is basically, this is the minimum we prefer you booted at to get the intended experience.
We prefer you.
Right, because PC gives you so much freedom, they don't want you to boot up a game with a fucking 78 Ti and run at 2 FPS, and you like, this game is
it's like, why, bro?
I mean, don't get it wrong, you can try to boot it like that, but the result
is very
people. That's one of the things between console and on PC. They know that console players more than likely don't really know what the fuck they doing when they go in the settings and they seeing low, medium, high, ultra, psycho. They know that y'all don't want to have to deal with figuring out what's the best configuration. So with console, what they does is they make it curated towards their intended vision. So
Durbin, this is my thing though, right? And this is I hope y'all can hear me, right?
Now we
This
can.
is the most important thing I'm gonna say all goddamn right? So when my minimum spec argument is this, right? Whenever you see a minimum spec requirement, that's what the fuck the dev was shooting for. That is like, hey dog, if you want to experience my game, this is what you need to have, right?
So,
and if that minimum, okay, so Sturbin, and this is the thing, you know PCs, right? I don't know shit about PCs, but you can equivocate the PC spec to a console spec, right? And if that PC spec that you equivocate is lower than this current gen console spec, it's a last gen game that they were making. And I believe that's 1,000%.
I mean that.
So
I was gonna comment on that one as well.
I agree with you partially, but it's not necessarily true. Because you think about it this way. Because in some cases, like I don't know if y'all ever paid attention to Digital Foundry's Insomniac game developer review. They pointed out that the textures on the animals and the wildlife, the things of that nature, was all made in 8K. Because when they first started developing the game, the PS5 didn't exist, and they were just told to go crazy. So what happens is
make some random shit.
They was told, like, just make the asset as best as you can, and we'll scale from there. Which is honestly ideal, because if you go into photo mode and zoom in on
downscale from there.
I gotta cut you off. I apologize, right? What you're talking about right there is scaling of assets, right? So
it was going to come full circle. It was going to come full circle.
No.
Hold on, let him wait, let him finish. Hold on, wait, let him finish. Go, so we can be orderly.
Okay, so Servant. No, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
So what I was going to say, what I believe determines the minimum specs is after they go through whatever process, whether they prioritize as making the best assets they can for their vision or making it work for target hardware. I believe that the Q&A testers, obviously they go through and test it. They fiddle with settings. And their thing is like, this is the lowest possible way you could possibly get 60 FPS. You get what I'm saying? They probably looked at it like the motherfuckers with 1050s wasn't able to pull it off with no configuration.
No,
but that's all.
Go.
It's going to take a while. I apologize. It's going to take 2 minutes to get this call out.
Who's talking right now? Is that Upper?
That's Upper.
You're going in and out. We cannot hear you.
Upper.
Like, you can't hear anything you say.
Upper, you gotta. He's not. When that happens, he may not be able to hear us either. So it's kind of like.
You need an Upper data plan right now.
Oh, dear.
Haha. Right. Speaker, and then Let me let Lazy go really quickly. Let me let Lazy go real quick. Let me let Lazy go.
Okay.
Lazy boy.
So the other thing I was trying to say about that I just remembered, because I used to always think about it when I'm getting new hardware. When you're looking at minimum requirements, if they're talking about minimum requirements based on 1080p, you do realize the last couple generations of GPUs, they're not targeting 1080. They're normally, when you get the new ones, they'll say this one is like optimized for 1440, or this is for getting something 4K. The new GPUs and new hardware that's coming out and has been coming out the last couple of years is looking at 4K and above, or 1440p. So that's why a lot of these older GPUs are perfectly fine doing 1080, because if you remember, most games, depending on how they're optimized or how they're created, at 1080p, there's more reliance on your CPU for your frames, not the GPU. Once you start getting up to 1440 and 4K, that's when the reliance switches over to the GPU, and the CPUs don't really get taxed that much.
Yep.
Yeah, you boot a game at 1080p, you'll see your CPU at 99% utilization. But if you boot it at 4K, you'll see that your CPU will be at 5% utilization, and the GPU will be at full hammer.
Yeah. But hold on, before you guys go off top, or go further from the point, I don't even know who I was responding to, but the person that was saying that minimum specs is the minimum of 60 FPS, or no, the problem with minimum specs in today and previous day and age is that there was never a set anything. So essentially, when devs basically said like, oh, minimum spec this, there was never any indication as to what minimum spec is for, like I was saying earlier, where it's like, is it minimum spec to boot the game? Is it minimum spec to get 30 FPS? Is it minimum spec to get 60 FPS? At what resolution? At what frame rate? At what settings?
I feel like that's semantics, though.
Typically, that has started to change a little bit more recently, but typically that was always been like, you don't know. Minimum specs has typically been like, you don't know. Like, sometimes it's minimum to boot the game, literally, and it will be like at 15 frames per second, like literally.
Yeah, it'll be like that is a minimum. That's if you don't have that, it's not gonna boot.
So let me say this. I think
so there wasn't actually an actual minimum, like there was no indication, there's no actual real tangible information as to what the minimum actually was or recommended for that matter.
It should be in
They started recently putting resolution at these graphic settings at this frame rate.
It should be in. Oh wait. It should be in the chat. It should be in the chat where they said unless I'm wrong, unless somebody made it themselves. Gotham
Knights does that, but I'm trying to correct what he said. Like that's not.
Oh, I feel like that's some.
No. Okay, so but again, what I'm saying, I understand the portion you're saying. All I'm getting at is, I'm more arguing about the PC being the limiting factor, where you're looking at this GPU versus like the more powerful ones, is because they're giving out a metric where they're directly targeting 1080. Of course, the minimum spec they're going to reference for 1080 is a card that is targeted at gamers that are doing 1080.
You're being geeky.
Using those on laptops and other stuff, they don't target 4K or 1440, so they don't need the higher specs. So if they're just doing that for their audience, they don't have to tell you what the target is for 4K, or maybe they do. I'm not looking at the spec sheet.
Wait a minute. We're getting. Hold on. First and foremost, y'all getting geeky. Let me let Shadow go.
So, I mean, it's a conversation about PCs.
You're right. Let me let Shadow go.
I mean, you gotta hold it.
On the laptop.
I'm just defending the minimum conversation as far as PC being the limiting factor is all I was getting at.
Let me let Shadow.
Minimum. It's a game by game basis, depending on what the actual minimum is that the game developers decided to be. But to be fair, like consoles, they tailor make them, and they put them at a certain resolution with a certain graphical quality, where it's like, oh, this setting is high, this one's lower than low, this one's low, this one's medium. Like, and they'll have it as high as a resolution they can get it. They basically, consoles, they shoot for the highest resolution with a mixture of quality settings to make it look as good as it possibly can at a high resolution. That's
with the specs too. Yo, Shadow.
Yo, what's going on?
What's going on, bro?
What up, Shadow?
What's going on? I really don't have too much to say pertaining to the conversation, except that, given the fact that I don't have a PC, I'm still getting Gotham Knights, even though it's going to be at 30. What I am kind of curious is the reasoning behind the 30 FPS. Is it because of the untethered world while you're co-op? Why are you playing co-op with your teammate or whatever? Is that the reasoning behind them being locked at 30 FPS?
I would assume so.
They say this. Let me hold on. Wait. Let me read it. Hold on. Wait. Yo, stop. Oh, yo, Cam talk to me. Hold on. He says this, right? Or she. She goes ahead. She says, I know. She says, this is the developer. This is the developer that's saying this. She says, I know many of you are wondering about the availability of performance mode for Gotham Knights on consoles. Due to the types of features we have in our game, which she didn't specify, by the way.
Next gen.
She says, like providing a fully untethered co-op experience in our highly detailed open world, which, again, unspecified. It's not as straightforward as lowering the resolution to get a higher frames per second. For this reason, our game does not have a performance/quality toggle option and will run at 30 frames per second. I think it's just 30 frames per second across the board, whether it's co-op or not. I think it doesn't have anything like this. There's no
yeah, it's 30 across the board.
It's probably
I'm just gonna have to see. I'm just gonna have to see once I play the game because I mean I'm gonna be one of those people to bite the bullet and just play it or whatever, whether I like it or not, because I'm a Red Hood fanboy. So I'll see for my guy
Deadpool.
So I'll see for myself or whatever and let y'all know on that. But honestly, how the hell is a quote unquote next gen game gonna be locked at 30 FPS? Then it's not really next gen.
I have a couple of points to get at with that. So honestly, people are pointing. All right. So first things first, people keep pointing at the Series S, the Series S, the Series S. Honestly, I'm just saying no.
All across the board. That doesn't.
No. I'm gonna get to that point. But I'm saying I'm saying other people are pointing at the Series S and they're pointing out this random dev that's pointing at the Series S. Keep in mind, he's not even a programmer, so what he says is irrelevant. He's an artist.
He's not even for Arkham Knight. He's not even for Arkham Knight.
He's not even working on that game. So. Like literally,
the lady that said that stuff in Discord was the developer.
She is, but there was another guy. There's a guy. He was saying that shit. He was like, "Oh, I wish people would understand."
Y'all confusing me.
But we're just trying to keep moving.
That's probably the ray tracing. Ray tracing takes a lot of power.
They didn't say anything about ray tracing though. That's the thing. They didn't say. I don't even think it'll have it.
No. Okay.
You can turn that off.
All right. All right.
Because we all know our DNA too is shit when it comes to ray tracing. Any PC dude know that, so it's probably ray tracing.
That is. All right. So that's true, but okay. Let's go back on track. All right. So people are going up the Series S, but I don't think it's the what do you call it? Yes, 1660 Ti is most likely more powerful than the Series S, but that hasn't stopped Series S games from targeting lower resolutions like 900p or 720p to hit 60 FPS. That has not stopped it. What I think it is the CPU is the limitation. Because why would they limit the PS5 and the Series X as well?
I think honestly,
that has not happened before.
I think honestly, just to let you know, I think what's happening. I don't think it's CPU, or like I said before, if you weren't in here before, what I believe is going on is we all kind of understand, it seems like it so far, that what this is straight up a decision. And that they may have been time constrained and they can't do it. It's a parity decision, not for the manufacturer of the console, but like for their sake. They don't want to do it. You know,
I don't think it's a parity decision. I think it is. Well, I don't think it's a parity decision. I think it is a scope what they're planning to do. Like having a fully untethered co-op. That's not typical of co-op games. Usually there's some type of tether. Even like Halo Infinite, something like that. There's always a tether. So having an untethered, and like if you look, and like the other person was saying before, like looking at the PC requirements is kind of a telltale. Looking at the CPU requirements is a 3600. A 3600 is not a weak CPU. That shit came out. That's a Zen 2 CPU. It's the same core architecture as that's in the consoles. And that's the minimum. That's a minimum requirement.
Question for you, RD. You're kind of smarter than me, right? So let me ask you this, right? If, let's say, Mark Bernie was telling the truth, right? Let's start on the assumption that motherfucker was lying in that keynote speech years ago, right? If they work differently off of straight up like how it's built, doesn't that change the game fundamentally, or am I wrong about this? Like,
there's only so much like how do I explain it? There's only so much like trickery you could do to get as much performance out of the CPU as possible. There's only so much you can do.
Hold on. I'm gonna have to. Hold on. No, wait.
And the limitation is probably not like it's probably not like a direct storage or where it needs to get information from the SSD quickly. That's probably network infrastructure. It's probably network infrastructure limitation. Like if you
Wait,
put
wait, example, right? And question. This is the question, right? And this is me trying to be. Cause I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, right? So, you know how they're like, hey man, if the game is rendered, because everything works so fast, so it just renders what's on the screen in front of you, right? What in the viewpoint of the screen is what needs to be rendered, right? Does that not change the game? Because if I don't need to render in the game, the other player is doing, because when I turn around, you know what I'm saying?
No, I said, hold on, wait.
No,
Hold on. I will mute everybody in here. Hold on for a minute. So, because every time I'm talking, y'all guys don't know how to stop. Like, I'm trying to say something, yo. So, my whole thing is this, right? To answer your question in terms of, you're saying that does these... First and foremost, this game is last generation. That is being brute forced into this generation. That's first and foremost. It's not a current generation game at all. That's one of the reasons why that GPU is what it is for its recommended minimum specs. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, we already fucking have a game that's untethered and runs at 60 frames a second on a console and is arguably doing more than this game. From what we could see there, it looks like it's doing more. Now, would it change? It could be more or less. Dying Light 2.
Oh shit. Yeah.
Dying Light 2 runs at 60 frames a second, have 4-player co-op, and is running above 1080p. It's nearly 1440p. And it's 60.
Is it truly two questions? Well, two things. Is it truly untethered? Because last time I checked,
Yes.
I don't know. Is it truly untethered?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And the second point is Dying Light 2, like your actual progression, your progression is only for you. It's only for the host.
We're not talking about your progression. We're talking about what's being calculated on the screen. When you have co-op, right? The CPU has to take account of the instance, how the world looks, and send it to everyone else and make sure everyone sees the same world and where it is in the state of each AI. So that's CPU processing power, right? It has all these zombies at a specific state.
No, hold on. Let me explain this. Wait. Let me explain this.
So,
okay.
it works. First and foremost, it's 120 frames per second. First and foremost, 120 frames per second, not 60, right? And I don't know exactly what y'all mean tethering, right? But let's say I'm doing something.
We got frogs in this bitch.
What the fuck?
Right? If I'm in a game with someone else and they try to start a mission, it's going to send me a message and say, hey, you want to fast travel to this person? You hold the button and it fast travels you to them in an instant, and then y'all start the mission up because y'all have to be in the same place to start the mission. But you're completely untethered until that point. You know what I'm saying?
No, we get that, but he's saying that the progression has some sort of a CPU implication. The progression is the progression is only held back because they don't want you duplicating things or beating the game before you need to beat it because of the sequence of time that they have with the storyline and stuff like that. That has nothing to do with CPU.
Yes. Okay. Hold on. God damn it. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, bro. You've been getting cut off a lot. Go, bro.
Okay, so going back to what you were saying, sir. The CPU is not what paints everything. The CPU is what the infrastructure is. I didn't say
it did though. I didn't say anything about paint everything. I didn't say that.
You said it puts everything on the screen.
No, I didn't say that either.
What did you say?
I said what the CPU is tasked to do is to keep the instance of the game state, the AI where it's at, and what it's doing, and the health or whatever the case is. That's what I said. I didn't say painting everything.
You did say this whatever.
It's recorded, man. You go back. It's recorded.
Yeah, I know it is recorded.
And I didn't say that. I didn't say. I know. I specifically say what I say. I didn't say that a CPU is drawing the world. I'm just saying it keeps the instance consistent with everybody else that's in the co-op world.
So can I give an example of bad tethering? Oh, no, bro. I'll let you go again. Sorry.
So the CPU is basically, so it handles all the infrastructure within the world, and that also includes network infrastructure. And the thing about it, if you're calculating all this information, the information in terms of everyone's positioning and everyone's progression, everyone's everything, that all comes to play with the CPU, including other people's progression, because it's all interconnected. Whereas Dying Light 2, only the host's game is what's being saved. Other people, their shit is not.
What is their shit that you're referring to? What is their shit that you're referring to? What progression are you referring to?
When you're doing story missions or you're completing a certain task or a side quest, that shit is not. If you're the second person and you go back to your main game, none of that's gonna save.
But I get the HP though.
Yeah.
All of that comes into account with network infrastructure.
You get to keep the X. You get to keep the X.
That's happening to the CPU.
You get to keep your X. You get to keep your XP, and you get to keep items that's in the world.
Yeah, I mean that seems like bullshit.
Yeah, I don't think that's because of the CPU. I think that's because they had a lot of issues with progression being stolen in a sense. I jumped in one of my older brother games when Dying Light 2 came out, and I got early access to the grappling hook and everything else, including a flashlight.
You break the sequence. You break the sequence of the game of how it is. You break the game. Some things may not load. Right.
I couldn't upgrade the grappling hook to the max or any of those other items. The last upgrade I could do, but it'll never give me the benefits until I got to the story event that gave that to me. Then magically I'll go to my menu and I got that third box for it. You get what I'm saying? So I don't think that has to do with the CPU.
No, it does.
It does, but it doesn't though. But it doesn't.
It absolutely does.
But it doesn't though. It doesn't.
Do you know this for a fact?
I know it for a fact. It doesn't.
Okay. Do you have information to provide?
You search for the information on your own. You do it.
Do you have the information to provide?
You search for it for yourself.
That's not a part of network infrastructure.
So what you're doing with this one, right? You're saying network. You're using these general terms, and what he's saying and what I'm saying is that the game has, especially when it's a storyline, it has sequences, right? Such as in Dying Light, and spoilers coming up, right? You get to flood a city or not. You don't want to progress the story past, like, if I carry you along with me and then I flood the fucking city, like, how is the game how does it understand that? And for the game world, how does it fix that if you're there before you're supposed to get there? So some things may not load because it doesn't, for coding, the sequence is out of place. It's waiting for you to get to a certain point before this happens. That's the engine. That's the game code. That's programming for the storyline.
No, hold on. I'm not saying that's not. I'm not saying that's not.
You're overstating progression as if these CPUs are going to be so bad, or these CPUs are not so bad. You're overstating, even if it was what you're saying, which is not. You're saying that
it is.
So like you have an issue. Where's your proof then, Bless? Where's yours? Where did you get your information?
Let me just debunk that. Let's just button to debunk that. That has nothing to do with a lot of CPU power, because saving progress is saving states. That has nothing to do with, like, it don't gotta calculate everything in order for it to know it. It just knows that after a certain point you did X, Y, Z and save it. Their reasoning to stopping that is for that specific reason that we stated. If you can find proof that, as a matter of fact, I'll give you something better. Play Dying Light on PC, do something, and let me see the CPU spike to 100% when you do that. If it don't happen, then that's not what it is.
To 100%? Are you?
Because you're making it seem like because they gotta keep the progress.
Jesus.
Bro, it's literally what you're
That's
saying.
what you're saying, though. I think that's what you're saying.
That is not what I'm saying. I'm not saying it immediately bottlenecks your system. That is,
Bro, listen,
y'all are taking it to the extreme. Y'all
Why even? It's so. If it.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Right in this, that anything that happens in the game is a calculation that occurs within the CPU.
on the CPU. That is all I'm saying. It is a fact.
On the screen.
What else calculates this? The GPU is not going to calculate this information.
But that's not going to make as much of an impact to change the dynamic of the game when you can't do 30 or 60. That doesn't make sense, bro.
I am saying it's a component, my dude. And this man.
How much of hold on. You know what? I'm muting. Hold on. Wait.
The GPU, no.
Hold on. I'm gonna say this, right? I'm gonna have to mute you too. Let me say this. I'm gonna have to say this. You can unmute when you're ready, right? How much of a component does it play a role in? Bless.
How would I know specifically?
Because you're making it doesn't. No, I want you to estimate. I want you to estimate it. I want you to estimate it. Since you're saying that this could be a factor,
How would I be able?
and since you're saying that it's a factor, how much?
This is such a dumb.
No, let me ask y'all a question real quick, right? So, in my understanding of how this works, right? Whenever in a game, right? Like, let's say I pick up an item. In a game. In order for the game to calculate...
To register that.
And register what happens, that's CPU side, right?
Absolutely, yes. The GPU is not going to do... Yes.
Okay, then when I pick up this item and then I see it in my hand, right? In the character's hand, that's the GPU.
The GPU, yeah.
Work in tandem to make shit happen, right?
Exactly.
Every single thing that happens in the game has to be calculated at some point by the CPU.
Exactly, because if something is not calculated, if I press a button to pick up an item but it doesn't exist or it never is being picked up, then the CPU is not correctly functioning.
All right, so okay, Starbin,
It's absolutely a function of the CPU.
Bro, we're not disputing.
Starbin,
You're citing that as a reason to why they can't do 30 FPS or 60 FPS in Gotham. That has nothing to do with it. CPUs, but the average CPU has 8 cores. But it doesn't play as big of a part as he's trying to make. It's not going to make the difference between 30 and 60, bro. Like that's what we're trying to tell you again. Like,
what? Yo, we cannot hear you. If you're yelling to the point where it's clipping you.
Am I yelling?
It's you. When you get loud, it clips you out.
I'm in my car driving. So my understanding of this is this, right? So y'all are telling me that it's not a CPU issue, JB, with this shit, right? But I don't understand that because, like, if I want to operate some shit at 60 frames per second, right? I need to see what's happening in the game. I need to know what's happening in the game. So, this is slapping the shit out of somebody. Batgirl is slapping the shit out of another person, and there are 10 enemies on the screen. Those are all calculations that need to happen within the CPU, and then the CPU needs to show me those calculations.
We already look. That's.
I just have one thing to say on this matter. First of all, you are all blessed. You're also looking at it way too deeply. You're literally omitting the fact that CPUs have 16 threads. Most of that background shit is offloaded to threads that aren't used for the game at all. So that's why we're saying that's not a deciding factor between 30 and 60, bro. Like all that shit is calculated on threads 7, 8, or whatever the case may be, not the main threads that's used to calculate the game. So that's not even a factor. This shouldn't even be a conversation, bro. This shit.
I wasn't done with.
I'm stupid. I don't know that any of that.
Yo, I know, but you keep you keep unmuting you, yo, and you have a hard time hearing you. Let Starbin go.
Yeah, Starbin, but go back to explain to me why I'm wrong, not just that I'm wrong. You know what I'm saying?
You're not really wrong. That's the thing.
Starbin was talking to me.
Yeah, I'm basically talking about. But here's the thing, like basically what I was saying, I'll explain it in other words so Upper can understand. basically CPUs. Let's use a Ryzen 3700X for an example. That has 8 cores, 16 threads. If you look at the Ryzen Master software while you're playing games, literally only like 4 to 5 of those cores are actually being used for the games. You'll see like minor spikes in the upper like 11 threads throughout the game as you do stuff, because all that shit is backloaded running the OS on support. That's why I'm saying shared progression is not an excuse to not have 60 FPS. Shared progression, saving states and things like that does not affect the CPU enough that it can literally cut your FPS in half. The Gotham Knights people probably just had it in 10 division. They probably couldn't get it to unlock 60 FPS. So instead of having it jump between 40 to 60, they chose 30. That's literally all the problem is.
So I never finished my statement.
Well, finish your statement, man, bros. Finish your statement. Finish your statement. Yo, you doing extra shit. You doing extra shit. Finish your statement so we can move on.
Jesus fucking Christ. Okay. Like what the fuck? I was going to literally say it's a component. I never said it may be the determining factor. I said it is a component in CPU work power, or basically what the CPU has to do.
And we're saying it's not enough and we're saying it's not enough to impact you. So what you said before, you think that it's CPU limited, right? That's what you said, right?
Yes, because the minimum spec is a 3600. There are very, very, very few games I've seen in the last few years that ever had a minimum spec requirement of a 3600.
Okay.
Like that is in the same. It's in the same generation. It's the same architecture that is in the console of the PS5.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. So what I want you to ask, right? What I want you to answer, rather. What I want you to answer.
You keep
it's very because I need you to get to the point. I can't let you just ramble on and on and on and on.
Go ahead, bro.
So what I need for you to get to the point, or not, you can just leave. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, you just love interrupting. Go ahead.
So my situation is this, right? You say that the CPU is limited, right? It's a possibility that it's limited. What's limited it? What's causing it to be limited?
I don't work on the game.
No, I'm asking you, since you stuck your black foot into this shit, I want you to understand why I'm asking you this question. If you think I have an inkling and you know something and you can make a hypothesis, then you can answer my question. What do you think it is?
Can I? Hey, look, I don't mean to cut nobody off. I don't mean to cut nobody off, but I'm gonna just say this. If it's a CPU bottleneck, or if it's something going on with the CPU when the game come out, you'll see a lot of hitches and stutters. So wait till the game come out, and if you see that type of shit, it's CPU bound. If not, it's
that's a relative. Yeah, that's a good point.
So, Knight, can I ask a question? Because you're asking like what could be a CPU bottleneck, right? And I've been trying to understand some shit that y'all already know throughout this conversation, right? But through my general understanding, this is my theory, right? Let's say I'm trying to make a game, right?
Right.
Okay. And that's an open world game, right? If I make New York City, right?
Right.
And there are a whole bunch of pedestrians or trash cans or whatever in the city.
Mm-hmm.
What type of calculation is that? Is that a CPU or a GPU calculation?
That's CPU because
we said that already. It's CPU. We already said that.
Because you have to take into account of the physics.
Wait.
I'll explain it to you. I'll explain it to you.
Let me clarify my question. Now, I'm talking about trash cans that aren't in front of me because they're around the block and they're not on the screen right now.
Oh, that's GPU.
What calculation is that?
So essentially, okay. So say if you have a trash can in front of you, okay, the trash can is in front of you. Without interacting with it, of course the CPU is working in terms of not having that trash can fall through the floor, for example, or like it is in that plane. But when you're visually seeing that trash can, that's the GPU. A GPU paints the picture essentially, whereas the CPU is the infrastructure. It is. Think of it like it's literally infrastructure. So say if you were to walk it, hold on.
Yeah, wait, no, I got my question.
Oh my god.
Go ahead.
Hey, look, you a boss, right? You got a job. You manage people, right? The CPU manages. The CPU manages what the GPU does.
Hold on, you keep asking, yo, upper. You keep upper. Hold on. Wait.
I just want to explain this. I don't 30 seconds.
Hold on, I gotta mute you, man. Hold on. You keep asking questions, upper, and then not letting people finish it. We're trying to answer it.
I'm trying to answer the question. Listen to the question first, right? So I'm playing man Gotham Knights, right? It's not out yet, but me and you, RDNA, we're playing this game, right? I'm Batgirl, you're fucking Robin or whatever, right? There's a trash can around the block from both of us. It's not on either one of us' screens, so we don't see it right now, right? On our screens, it's not on our screens right now. So you know what I'm saying? It's not in the picture. What's taking care of that in that moment that we're not looking at the trash can?
It may not even be. That trash can may not. That trash can may not even be like
rendered
as a
rendered
in anything. It may not be.
I would say that's swap to like a low quality texture of it or a bitmap of it, so it'll be like roll extremely simplistic, so it's not really affecting anything. Like
I would say that's a RAM issue because it's in the RAM. It's waiting to get called upon. It's in the RAM.
Wait. So let's say, okay, I may have asked this question wrong. So if this trash can needs to be somewhere, because let's say RDNA went around and moved the trash can, right? So it's not in its original place. So it's somewhere else from where the game loaded the trash can to be because he moved it. Then he came back over to me, right? And my game needs to know that the trash can is not in the same place that it originally was, so it needs to have that information. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, so that's the CPU. The CPU is what would keep that calculate. Yeah, that CPU would keep that calculation. So essentially, anything that you interact with, like physically interact with, if you push that trash can, the CPU must know. This person collided with this, so this must happen. It's X plus Y equals Z. That's what the CPU does. The GPU is how the trash can looks. Oh, it has graffiti on it. It has this effect on it, or it has like it looks dirty. That's what the GPU does. It paints it. The CPU is what is essentially putting it in that position is causing the actual, and is what's causing the actual.
Hey, look. At the end of the day,
physics and whatnot.
At the end of the day, you don't have to explain yourself. All you got to do is just tell them, look, he a manager, he a boss, he worked on jobs before. The CPU is a manager. It tells it what to do. You feel me? It tells the GPU what to do. Draw this, do that. That's all it is. It's a manager.
Not only that, let me say this too, right? There's a lot of little tricks that you can do, like half the calculations. So instead of it updating at whatever frame rate that you're running the game at, you can update it every 15 frames or every 5 frames, depending on proximity, where it won't be like calculating a whole bunch of shit. You know what I mean? The more frames, the more calculations it does, which is part of the reason why they're having a particular issue. But again, you sit this on Twitter in these threads, you're not giving any kind of basis, in terms of you're making these assessments, and then you're not. And then when someone questions you, you say, "I don't know," but you're still making the assessment. So obviously, you know something.
I'm smart enough to know that I don't know specifically because I'm not working on the game. I'm not using their engine. I'm smart enough to know that I'm not working on their game.
So why speak? So why speak on it? So why speak on it then? If you don't know, then why speak on it? If you don't know, then why speak on it?
Well, basically,
because
you specifically.
Is a high minimum CPU, brother. It's a high minimum. It is a high CPU.
You're making allegations. You're making allegations on things that you're making allegations on things that you do not know. You just said it. You're saying that I believe that it's the CPUs of these consoles that's causing this to be 30 frames a second, and you disregard everything else but the names of these the GPU models.
Yeah, because the CPU is very high. It is exceptionally high. Just like when Battlefield 2042 came out, and I was looking at the CPU the requirements, I was saying, wow, these CPU requirements are exceptionally high, and it makes sense because Battlefield 2042 was 128 players, and it was like also handling AI controlled enemies and teammates. Like it makes sense as to why the CPU was so high of a minimum, because they were doing a lot with that game in terms of what the CPU had to do.
You know what's interesting about this shit, yo? Gotham usually never have like pedestrians and shit like that. So like, what exactly? Because anything that moves, right, is a CPU bound situation, right? Which you can do all sorts of trickery, which you can update the frame rate depending on proximity and all this other stuff. But you don't have pedestrians walking around and shit like that. You just have the enemies and yourself and the other 4 people in the instance it's going on. That's a stretch to say that these GPUs are limited, and that's why they can only do 30 frames a second. And you have Dying Light that does it too. What progression? Do you even know the progression of this game? Is it progression? Does the progression carry over in Gotham Knights? Do you know that? We don't know this.
There's a progression tree, but I don't know specifically if I'm making hypotheticals. This is my Twitter account. Like, I'm making hypotheticals.
Okay, that's cool though. But you have other people that have opposing views.
I believe.
You have opposing.
I'm not gonna say I know on something I don't know.
Yeah, and I believe that this is not the case.
Are you guys still running these old ass cards?
What do you mean?
What?
Well, PC?
These fucking cards ain't worth shit. Why are you guys running these old ass cards?
What are you talking
Nah,
about?
my 4090 comes.
What is 1660 Ti?
Who the fuck is still playing on that old thing?
I mean, people, what the fuck? I mean, it's still a capable GPU. Just because you're not playing at 4K doesn't mean it's not capable. 1080p is still a resolution people play at. A lot of people. Most people on PC, actually. What?
If you look at Steam charts, they even point out most people still got a 1060. See, the reason why there's a disconnect is because all these PC elitists will have you believe that everybody got 3090 Ti's and whatnot. But in all reality, look at Steam charts. They'll straight up tell you 80% of people still got 2060s, 1660s.
2060 is a very capable card. Now to that point, I will make this, which is I find it kind of funny, that the 30 series GPUs are actually account for what 21 or 22% of overall Steam Steam hardware overall in the Steam hardware survey, which essentially means it has, at least when that metric came out, it essentially means it sold more than the PS5 at the time, which I find funny. But that accounts for like all.
What does that have to do? What does that have to do with it? What does that have to do with anything though?
3060s.
What does that have to do?
Like 3060 laptops? But yeah, I think that's funny. Like it.
Why is that relevant?
Than our PS5s.
Why is that relevant?
That were sold.
Why is that relevant?
No, it's relevant because Sturban is talking about how most people are playing on lower tier cards, but I'm saying like a good amount of people are playing on a 30 series GPUs.
How old is a 30 series GPUs? How old are they?
They came out
What's the year?
PS5,
okay, so
they came out
what's the year?
Time, and there's more of them out.
Okay, but here's the thing, though. Okay, so here's the thing, though. What he mentioned, right?
Different use cases for GPUs. There's like, people buy GPUs to like do farming, AI, machine training, and all that other stuff. So it's a little broader than just using a PS5. But
no. I understand that, but I'm talking about the Steam hardware survey.
But that's fine though. But it doesn't. This is what I'm saying. This is why there's always a clash between you and I, because it's irrelevant to what we're talking about. Irrelevant.
No, I mean, not really.
But yes, really though. But yes, really. All he stated. See, this is.
But if you look at the totality of the cards that were sold, or the totality of cards that are being used, a good port. The most common cards are 30 series Ampere NVIDIA cards. Those are the most common cards on Steam as of right now.
I don't know. I haven't checked the stats in a while, but
I have the picture of it. Actually, I have the picture of it. I can show you. So
There are many different years. There are many. No, it's not. It's not relevant to why it's running at 30 frames a second. It has nothing to do with that.
I was just talking about a.
No, he mentions that he. I'm not mad about it. My situation is that it's irrelevant to the 30 frames per second issue. That's why.
Okay, that's fine.
hey,
Now you're so hold on, wait a minute. You're so quick to say that somebody's a console warrior and all this other shit. It's quite that in particular is quite annoying, and I get it. You consistently talk about console shit all the time, yo. All the time. Your fucking Twitter, and this is your prerogative, it's yours, is always about some sort of console thing and whatever inferior. The point that he was trying to make is that people are not doing top of the line GPUs as what it looks like on Twitter. That's why they're going. That was pretty much it.
Yeah, typically no.
That's all he was saying. And then you want to talk about, oh, it sold more than PS5. Like, yeah, but PS5 also was fucking, it was fucking constrained because of how it was made.
Huh?
The PS5 was constrained in terms of production because of how it was made.
Yeah, in the same time period, they sold like more.
There is other things. They're doing CPUs and GPUs and other things that's along with it, which slows down the process of it. Even if you wanted to take it in terms of sales, it's a more complicated situation. So they're not gonna be able to pump these fucking things out anyway. And then on top of it, GPUs, especially with cryptocurrency, was getting scooped the fuck up anyway. It's a irrelevant conversation. And it's derailing everything that I'm trying to do now. That's my irritation.
I mean, I was just literally just responding to what the other person said, but you're so mad at this. Okay.
I'm mad about you derailing my conversation. That's what I'm mad at. I'm mad you derailing my conversation. That's what I'm mad about.
I didn't do that. But go
no, he mentioned about the specs of it, not the sales.
I wasn't the person to bring that up.
He mentioned about minimum. He mentioned about minimum specs. That's what he did. He mentioned about minimum specs in terms of why the game is running the way it is or why it's targeting it, and you went to sales for some reason.
We can move on, bro.
Yeah, we can move on.
Let's move on.
Who was talking?
Can I ask you a question? Question again that will derail the space, but I don't know that that's 1,000% wrong because hear me out, right? Let's say that a certain graphics card sells the most, right? Then if you make a game, wouldn't you make the minimum spec requirement for that graphics card? So that would kind of push what's been being done in games. Or am I wrong? You get what I'm saying?
No, they're gonna make it. They're gonna make.
It depends on the game.
They're gonna push. They're gonna want the game like anybody else. They're gonna, and I'll let you. As soon as I'm finished, I'll let you go, Star. They're gonna make a game so as many people can experience the game as possible, unless they have some sort of agreement with another company in terms of the GPU or CPU, and they can push that. They both can push it. Like the Crisis series or like what do you call it, Half-Life 2 and shit like that. But typically, what they want to do is have as many people buy the game as possible. They can't price people out of it by saying, "Oh, I'm only going to stop at a fucking 3070, and if you have a 20s whatever, that's all. Oh well, you're gonna have to upgrade." So they don't want you to do that. They want to put it as low as they possibly can and to compensate for whatever shitty engine that they got going on, which I believe that's the situation with this one. Star, go on.
Yeah, I was just saying, I just got back. We talking about like sales and whatnot. Is there like a TLDR for where this conversation?
Oh no, absolutely not. No, this ain't about sales. Period. Nope. Nope.
Okay, so is there a current topic?
The current topic about this is the reasoning as to why for the current consoles it's running at 30 frames per second when you have other games like Dying Light 2 that could do 4-player co-op untethered at 60 frames a second and nearly 1440p. So we're wondering why.
My only thing I'm gonna say on it is a Cyberpunk of all games can run 60 FPS on a Series S, I don't see any excuses. That's my 2 cents about it.
He's right though.
I can't say that much. And let me just get this clear. This is what somebody actually said, and I have one more thing to say that has nothing to do with this technical specs. Well, one of the guys says this, right? And this is one of the reasons why, you know, we were kind of talking about this. Facepalm, facepalm, facepalm. Tell me you don't know about PC without telling me you don't know about PC. He says Bless is correct in the assessment, right? That the CPU is affected by by 4-player co-op essentially.
Yeah.
That's what he said. No. I'm sorry. By what do you call that shit again? Progression. That's what he's saying.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody said it wasn't. The question here.
You absolutely said it wasn't affecting, or it wasn't an affecting component of the CPU.
It's not a situation where it's going to drop your shit down to 30 frames a second.
No, that was not the argument. You said it absolutely doesn't affect it at all. That was what you said. Don't bullshit me now.
Nope.
You have it recorded, bro.
Nope.
You have it recorded. Don't make me post this shit. Don't make me post this shit. I know what you said.
Hey, die on this hill, RDNA. Fuck that.
Like, bro, I know what you said, bro. Like, no, don't try to sugarcoat it.
Regardless of the matter, regardless of the matter, if you're looking for a fucking win just to do a win, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. And I'm trying to talk over people and orders and moderate a fucking space. So if I did say that, I'm mentioning, right, how insignificant it is to the situation. So if I made a mistake and I basically stated that it doesn't have anything to do with it, I'm making a generalization that is not going to have your fucking frame rate.
So you're saying it has something to do with it, but not a lot.
No, yeah, and then I'm not sure.
It's not the goddamn problem, is what you're saying.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And you know what? Someone mentioned it. I think it was who said this shit in the space. I think it was Starvin that said this shit because it looks muted, but it's not. If you believe so wholeheartedly that it has that much impact, then turn on your PC, right, with a game that has co-op and the original fucking Dying Light or Dying Light 2, whatever you have, and display your CPU and take a screenshot of that when you move progression. We're doing 4-player co-op. If you believe that strongly that it's going to half the frame rate, and you believe that strongly that these consoles are so much they're basically off the shelf CPUs and GPUs, go ahead and screenshot the shit or make a video out of it. You should be able to do it. You're technically inclined, as you claim you are. You should be able to record a little. You should be able to screen grab that shit and then monitor the fucking the CPU usage, and so we can see the numbers.
It will go up.
That it will go up substantially. No, we're not playing.
Absolutely.
We're not playing semantics. We're not playing semantics. We're not playing. Nope. We're not playing semantics. So what we're gonna do here, right, is we're not talking about not go up. We just established that it does affect it. We just established it. We're talking about the significance of it. If it goes up to half the frame rate, I'm being very specific at this point in time, right? If you monitor this shit with Dying Light 1 or 2, and you have 4-player co-op, you move from one place to another in terms of progression, we want you to screen grab that shit so we can see how much exactly does it go up. And if it's substantial enough to drop your frame rate.
Bro, what he's trying to say is that it does affect it. Like I pointed out, most of that shit is offloaded to other cores and threads. But his point is, it's not enough to affect the CPU and the GPU enough that it's going to tank the frame rate by 50%. Like,
he knows this. He knows this. He knows this shit.
On top of that, he's smart enough to know that 4K is less CPU limited. So even if it did affect it, it don't mean shit because your CPU only at like 5 to 7% anyway at 4K. So that shit don't mean anything. He's smart enough to know that. So that's why it's an irrelevant fact. So
what is the fucking problem, you smart ass motherfuckers in this space?
The problem is nobody can quantify what's the reasoning as to why it's 30 frames a second, or no one really knows. All we can do is take educated guesses. And because there's actual tests out there with other games,
What's your educated guess?
the educated guess is they didn't have enough time to optimize.
I can agree with that. But it's going to take for NX Gamer or Digital Foundry to actually break it down.
Time the fuck out. With unlimited time, I can do goddamn anything. I can build a bridge to goddamn heaven if you give me enough time, right? And that's not what we're talking about. Like, yeah, with enough time, any development studio could build a goddamn bridge to heaven, right? But that's not what we're talking about. I'm asking, what's the problem here that is causing this when it's not an issue in Dying Light 2? Because you brought up Dying Light 2, right?
Yeah, and what Bless ended up saying, and what Bless ended up saying is this: progression seems to play a part in the performance of the game, but he's not indicating how much of a part because he says he doesn't know. But he mentions this.
It's dependent on the engine. It depends on what they're trying to do in terms of progression. Like if everything is gonna be saved on every platform's client, like it all depends. Like Dying Light, it all depends, bro.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But here's what you said. This is your Twitter, and again, that's fine. But you specify this is the PC Master Race shit that you do all the time, right? Imagine the next generation console CPU being limited and not allowing for 60 frames per second already, snickering. That's what you basically put on there. All right, fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah,
I have another point.
Oh no, you have another point though, but you don't. But when you come to these spaces, you seem to not know anything at this point. But you pop the most shit when you're typing this shit. That's the problem.
Can I talk about something I do know, at least?
Look, man,
on topic.
That's all I'm saying is the ray trace. I put money on that. That's the ray trace.
You can turn, but you should be able to turn that shit.
Ray tracing is effective.
But you suppose okay, so if that's the case, right? They should be able to turn that shit off and gain some performance.
I guarantee you, go play Dying Light with ray tracing turned on and then turn the ray tracing on. I bet your frame rate go up.
No, you only have one or the other.
I mean, ray tracing is mostly GPU bound, but yeah, Spider-Man is mostly CPU bound.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Because if you turn on Spider-Man and turn on ray tracing to the max, even with a 3080, when you swing it, you're going to get at max 54 FPS with DLSS on. But that's not an issue with others because, you know...
That.
Do you want to challenge that?
That all depends on the CPU. Yes, absolutely, because it all depends on the CPU and your resolution you're playing at. You're making a broad statement without even getting any context.
Bro, didn't you just prove my point?
Yeah, sure. If you're using a 3600, you're not going to get 60 FPS. But if you're using a 12900K, it all depends, bro.
Hold up. Hang on. Real quick. I just want to say I gotta go because I gotta go eat. And I gotta go get to this place before they close. It's been real nice talking to all y'all, meeting some of you guys. Thank you for the invite, letting me speak.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I hope all y'all have a great rest of it's still Saturday, right?
Who's talking? Who's talking? Upper room?
Starlight.
That's Starlight.
All right, man.
Peace out.
All right, so back to what I was saying. I can challenge you on that right now. I don't have a 3600X. I have a 5700X. And that is how it is. Even Digital Foundry even proved that because Spider-Man is CPU limited, you jumped the gun, bro. I was agreeing with you that ray tracing is CPU limited. Like, you hyped this shit and you was wrong, bro. Chill.
Bro, you said you said a 3080 can't pass 54 frames per second, which is a lie.
Not when it's on the CPU limitation. It's a CPU bottleneck.
No, it's dependent on the CPU. A 12900K can do that. What do you mean? It can allow for 60 FPS. That's what I'm saying. Like, you're wrong.
Bro, I'm not.
You made a broad statement. That's what I'm trying to say.
You took it as a broad statement. You took it as one.
That's what you said. You said a 30 FPS can't pass 54. That's the average.
Bro, shut up.
That's what you said.
Spider-Man was my example. See,
yeah, and that's the game I'm talking about.
What the fuck? You said a general statement. We're not talking about every game.
I'm saying a general statement about a 38's performance on Spider-Man, bro. That's what I'm talking about.
That's what he said, y'all.
You said. Oh my God.
Bro, just
I said general statement, but I was talking specifically about Spider-Man, bro.
Bro, anybody,
What?
if that's what he said, raise your hand. It fucking exactly, bro.
Raise your hand, brother. What are you talking about? Again, it doesn't matter. You're still wrong. A 3080 can absolutely pass 54 frames per second. It is dependent on the CPU. That is my point. It is CPU bound. You said it factually, as in it will never pass in Spider-Man, which is incorrect. You said 54 FPS.
You guys.
You didn't name the CPU. You didn't name it. You didn't name it.
Because you didn't let me, bro. Like, you started getting hyped and shit and started pulling at your hair. Calm the fuck down. You wouldn't let me.
I didn't give a significant enough pause.
Nope, just like you do.
You literally started getting pre-hype, bro. And literally, I stopped you and said, do you want to challenge that? You never even let me mention my hardware, bro. You never let me.
Okay.
Is that not what happened?
I mean, I thought I gave you a significant amount to respond to, or a significant amount of time to respond.
You literally
I guess not. My bad.
Talking. Exactly. So just shut up, bro.
Okay, whatever you say, brother.
Potatoes anyway.
Whatever you say.
I'm a big fan of a good old fashioned shut the fuck up, personally.
I guess so.
Look. At the end of the day, the answer.
You gotta tell shut the fuck up sometimes so you can get that thought across.
So the end of the day with this one, right? We are not quite sure what is going on, but the problem here is that I could say with a good amount of certainty, it ain't CPU. It's them.
Okay, so then if it's not CPU, then it's GPU.
And no, it's none of those things. I've told you earlier.
Right.
It's time based. The problem, the situation is they don't have time to. I will mute this shit. They don't have time to work on the fucking game to optimize it. This is an optimization situation.
Okay, listen. Okay, so what I'm gonna say is, with enough time.
We're not talking about wait. We're not talking about forever and ever in 10 years. We're just talking about a good maybe 6 months. They don't want to do it. That's the time frame I would believe to optimize this shit.
Okay, now hear me out. I get that, right? I get that. Maybe the game was rushed and it shouldn't have came out so soon, right? I get that 1,000%, right? But like, let me ask you this question: what limitations would cause the development studio with a limited amount of time to not be able to get some shit to 50 frames per second?
Budget.
Okay.
Budget?
Let's say I have all the money in the world, but not enough time, right? Let's say I got a year. All the money in the world. What are my limitations?
Manpower.
I mean, I will say.
Technical limitations is what you're saying? There are no technical limitations that stop a game from being 60 frames per second?
No, when you design a game in a specific way, then you shouldn't have particular problems in general. Hold on, let me answer your question. If you started off with the intended idea that your game is going to be 30 frames a second, you're already going to hit, you're not going to put a whole bunch of graphic features on there yet. And then you're going to start to optimize on there. You're going to not have that many vertices. You're not going to have that many shaders and shit like that to make sure that at least the core game can get to 60 frames a second. And then you can start adding on the layers and stuff like that. If you start off with 30 frames a second and build that way and then try to take things away as an inefficient way of doing it, and it's going to take more time to try to optimize it lower. You know, like the actual, take something from high and start taking things apart to try to get it to work. That's harder than starting off small and building up on top of it.
So I'm going to say one thing, right? I tried to pose that in a way that was leading to my actual thought process, right? Which is this: that if I have a game
I have 60 enemies out there doing backflips and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are technological limitations based on, like, what my hardware can do, where it's like, fuck, I jumped the gun. You know what I'm saying? I'm out here doing too much. You know? And maybe I can't hit 60 frames with these many people and shit. You know what I'm saying?
That's why I say it working from the top bottom to lower is harder than starting out small. Because if you started out small with Batgirl and Batman, right, and had 60 enemies, you're not going to make those 60 enemies detailed to make sure that they work on the screen.
Wait a minute though. Let's take this into actual.
I have a limited amount of time, brother.
No. What I'm trying to say is, let's take this to the actual what the fuck happened, right? Because this was a cross-gen game, so this was a PS4 game and a what was it?
Xbox One.
One game, right? Before they said, no, we're not doing that anymore. So when they initially thought this up and were developing this shit, like, it was developed on limitations of old hardware of last gen. So my question is, with that last gen hardware, what is the technological limitations there between that gen and this gen that is making this game 30 frames per second? Because we realized it was developed for that gen, not this gen.
That's a good point.
So what I imagine, right? Last generation, right? They would have never dreamed of trying to make a 60 frames per second game in this capacity, right? They wouldn't even attempt it. They would be like, okay, it's built as a 30 frames per second game, and in the event that it goes to PC, we have enough brute force to make that shit 60. When they moved over to the consoles, or these PS5 and Xbox Series, now you gotta start taking things apart to get it to work, because this game is designed to be a 30 frames per second game, period, point blank. And there's not enough headroom to brute force it with either console. So now you gotta work with...
My question is, what are we brute forcing? I'm stupid. You know what the fuck you're talking about. Literal question.
What are they brute forcing?
Yeah.
Let's just say that per frame is 10,000 polygons. Last generation, right? And that's about as maximum as they can get. And you already know if you double the frame rate, you have to half the polygons, right? So you're going to do 5,000 at a 60 frames per second clip. And the reason why, you have half the time to put that shit out on the screen, right? Cool. Yeah. So they just designed the game to be 10,000 polygons, but the PCs can do 30,000 polygons. They have enough headroom to do more, so they could just take that core game and just ramp it the fuck up.
Why can't it brute force from last gen to this gen to 60?
Because it's not strong enough. You need optimization.
Console peasant.
What the fuck? Honestly, bro, they, I don't know, man. I truly think it's just either it's an engine, it's like an engine thing, but I doubt it, because we will see. We will see what's up with the PC version. I think the PC version is going to be the tell-all to anything. It will be the tell-all. If we focus, if the PC version is done by the same studio, and it's not done via a outsourced company that were 12 people that only had 2 months to work on it. Shout out to Arkham Knight. That's how that PC port was so bad originally. But
yeah, that was a terrible port.
If it's not that type of situation up front, then we should be able to see from the PC port, see how shit actually shakes out versus the consoles. It will give us a good indication as to how shit is actually. But I do want to say though that getting true next generation games, 30 FPS may be in our future for consoles. And for example, if you look at Unreal Engine 5 is extremely demanding with Nanite and Lumen. You look at, for example, you can look at the original demo that they showed off for the PS5, or you can look at the Matrix Awakens demo that were on all consoles. All those consoles were dipping under 30 FPS. When like physics and stuff are happening, you're driving through the city at high speeds, or you're like colliding with the cars. Like Unreal Engine 5 is very demanding, and it's very single-threaded demanding. It's at least currently, and that's not really a great thing. So if you're looking at these next-gen technologies, unless they actually make actual improvements, 30 FPS, if they're going to actually utilize the next generation Unreal Engine 5 actual technologies, you're going to see some 30 FPS games, like designed 30 FPS games, because that's going to be what is possible. Like there's only so much you can get from utilizing specific hardware capabilities of these consoles. You can't turn water into wine though. It's not magic. These consoles aren't magic.
No one ever said that these consoles were magic, but I will say this, right?
No, I'm just saying.
The situation with Unreal, first of all, they already came out and said it wasn't optimized in general. So at the very least, we can expect a stable 30 frames a second. Secondly, when it comes to engines, so long as you initially start your shit off expecting 60 frames a second, sure, it's possible. As long as you design it for it at the door. If you don't design it for it,
you'd have to make necessary cutbacks.
It doesn't matter. That's a part. It doesn't matter. It's a part of. It's a part of the process. It's what PC people do all the time. They always reduce things and increase things. That always happens. That's a part of the course. There's nothing wrong with adjusting it. You can only get but so much out of these 2-year, all these $500, $400 fucking pieces of hardware. You only get so much out of it. But just like the Switch,
but I'm saying like utilizing next gen technologies.
They haven't even started using it, and then I'm sure the next generation technology allows for things from the previous generation to work more efficiently. That's why the RDNA or the GNC and RDNA 2 is more efficient. You can do more with that.
Yeah, like dude was saying, it's built for that. I'm sorry.
No, I'm confused with what Steve was saying.
No, like dude was saying, it's made for last gen consoles. That shit started 5 years ago. Them consoles won't even know 5 years ago. Plain blank period.
I will say this, and this always leads to the same question: what exactly is next gen? Because if it's just more particles and more shapes, I mean, does it really count? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It could be it could be sound, it could be loading times. All these things weren't possible previous generation. So any one of those things could equate to a next generation experience. But if we're talking about a shared graphical situation, like the geometry engine that's in the PS5 hasn't really been used. There's many different components within these consoles that's supposed to make it more efficient to render things. Hasn't really been used because you need time to
shaders and stuff.
And the shaders, and it takes time to learn these particular things, and then the whole paradigm of next gen, quote unquote, these consoles, the whole paradigm of this shit is going to switch eventually, and the way that we make games from 2020 backwards is going to change altogether. From this year backwards, or I would say 2000.
Listen, what will the minimum PC spec be at that point when games are actually next gen games?
I don't know.
I mean, it's going to continue to go up, but one thing people always forget in terms of for PC, it's not just optimization that you guys get, it's not just like what do you call it? I guess like utilizing the next gen functions of your consoles. It's also the fact that PCs, they don't prioritize the same drivers. They don't prioritize the same drivers per generation. So, for example, you look at, I was having this conversation. Well, what's his name? I forget his name. But I was having this conversation where, like, a 1080 Ti, when 1080 Ti was stronger than a 2070 upon the 2070 release. But you look at a 2070 or a 1080 Ti now, a 1080 Ti is like much slower than a regular 2070, and the reason being is there's less optimization for the driver. They don't care about the drivers for those older cards as much. So it's not necessarily it's not always over time the consoles they start utilizing the specific stuff like the geometry engine or like mesh shaders or stuff like that, and they start unlocking more potential more potential actual performance. It's also the matter of fact of, hey, these cards are just not being optimized or given the most optimal drivers anymore, because they prioritize, at least I know for a fact for NVIDIA, they prioritize the new cards, whatever the new cards is at the given time, they prioritize those cards. And then the next card, they have less prioritization in terms of driver stacks, so they get less proper optimization for like new driver support.
So I will say this:
these cards they will necessarily get less and less in terms of performance, because the actual manufacturers, NVIDIA, AMD, they just don't care as much for those cards. They don't put the priority. They're not what the priority is. They're not trying to sell those old cards. They're trying to sell new ones.
Well, here's the thing. The same thing. There's drivers. There's drivers for these consoles as well, and they have to update these drivers to keep them up to snuff until the next iteration comes out. So technology is a moving target. You know what I mean? There are some things that you weren't able to do that you can do, right? And it makes things look better. For instance, I'm a fan of PlayStation. Horizon Zero Dawn, right? When they moved it to Horizon Forbidden West on the PS4, it looks significantly better than the first game. How the same pieces of hardware, they have better drivers, they have better software solutions and better APIs and whatever the case is you want to call it, to make it look better, even though it's the same old ass 2013 hardware. The thing is, consoles rely on optimization from the developers, and PC rely on basically like the technology itself, the power itself. They just operate differently. That's why I never was a fan of people comparing the two.
Hey, listen, let me ask you a question. You remember?
Oh, here we go.
He kind of cut out, but
you keep cutting out, man.
You're cutting out, bro.
I would say this too. Bless you. You said you didn't understand what I was saying. I said that the last architecture for the PS4 and the Xbox One changed to the RDNA 2 or RDNA 2 like architecture, whatever you want to call it, and
it's RDNA. Yeah.
That's more efficient than whatever I think they call it, GNC or whatever, GCN or whatever the fuck.
GCN. That's what I was like. What? It's GCN.
GCN. So it's. I mean, but you know what I was saying though. Like, I mean, okay. So I mean, I'm not going to be on point. This is not a professional. I'm not a developer, and nor this is a big enough fucking space for me to give a fuck, for me to be on point that much. Either way, you look at it, and the thing is, right? These hardwares, these new consoles, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, they're not. There's components of it that's not even being used. So you know what I'm saying? Yeah, 3D audio for the PS5, or you got the SSD for both of the consoles, or whatever the case is. Yeah, those are being used, but in terms of the actual, like, I will say this: if you design a game that's 30 frames per second, that's that's 60 frames a second. That's what you're going to get. Nowadays, these developers are keeping that in mind. They're going to start with the 60 frames a second, and then they can start adding effects to it, or whatever the case is, and whatever they want to do. But I would say that we didn't see nothing yet from any of these fucking consoles or PC. We just didn't, So that's why these games that we're playing right now, they're quasi current gen. They got 1 foot in the door and 1 foot out when it comes to this generation. That's how most of it is going. That's how I see it. This game, this Arkham. What do you say?
No, sorry, I'm playing COD. Go ahead.
This Gotham Knights. I don't think I think this is really. I don't even think it's like necessarily a limited engine. I just think that they truthfully They don't have enough. They have a release date they need to hit, and they don't want to fuck up their profits or whatever the case is. So they're like, fuck it. But I didn't even know. This is not even just co-op. This is across the board 30 frames a second. That's a game changer to me because it's like, damn, you don't have no.
Not even playing by your damn self. You can.
That's what I'm saying. You can't even reap the benefits of playing by yourself and be like, I don't want 4K. I just want 40p or whatever you want to do, and then run that shit at 60. They give you no option.
Yeah, if you want the option, you know where to play. PC. Let's go.
So that's how I look at it. It's crazy. I thought this was just a co-op argument. I was like, oh, what the fuck? Now that I'm reading it, because I glanced at it and I'm like, okay, cool. And I brought up Dying Light, but this is different. This is different, David. This period, you just 30 frames. You just assed out. Oh well, you know what I mean. Which brings me to my last point before we close out here. Let me see if anybody wants to kind of jump in and speak before I start ranting. I'm about to fuck shit up right now. There are a subset of gamers from this generation. I don't give a fuck if you defected to PC or not. That doesn't concern me, right? Because I would imagine if you really were about technology and you just was so tired of being shackled, then if you have an extra cash, okay, cool, you could buy a PC, whatever you want to do, and that's great. That's awesome. My problem with these new-aged fucking gamers that didn't come into gaming space like I did back in the 90s, where we played games and they were horrible frame rate, horrible resolutions and shit like that, right? Just awful across the board. But the games were so innovative. Like Grand Theft Auto 3, right? When they released that shit on the PS2, it ran horribly. That didn't stop me from fucking playing that shit. That shit was a fire-ass game. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas on the PS2 was awful. The LOD was trash. They didn't even load the environment. If you went too fast, shit didn't even load, and it would just pop up in your face. But no one gave a fuck back then. And I miss those days of having you just played it, you popped in the game, you just liked it. It seems like nowadays people are just literally playing specs. To me, that's so, as a gamer, I don't really want to consider you a gamer if that's what you're really going on. You know what I mean?
It's not about gaming no more.
It's not even about gaming. I would even go as far as, okay, so when Crysis was released in 2007, even the Series S, I mean across the board.
That's a good game. You don't care about respect the Series S.
But I'm saying across the board. I don't give a fuck what console it is. I'm calling out all the motherfuckers. Back in the day, in 2007, I believe, when Crysis came out, that shit barely ran at fucking 30 frames a second. You know what? The PC gamers didn't give a fuck. They loved them graphics.
Yeah, Crysis was ridiculous.
That shit was fucking crazy. Nobody was going around with their nose up in the air talking about something. I can't deal with this. Oh, this game dropped a frame at the most hectic time in a millisecond. It's unplayable to me. That's craziness to me.
That game was massive. That game was massive CPU demanding.
Yeah, it was single threaded too.
Yeah, it was like, and they were expecting CPUs to reach like 7 gigahertz instead of like actually go up in core count first. And that's why it's like, even if you play it to this day on some like modern CPU, like a 3600, it'll still play like shit. You need like a high frequency a different CPU, like a 9900K or like a 10900K or something like that.
I think to this day, it's
the new Ryzen's can do it, and like the Ryzen 5000 series, but
the games are designed nowadays, right? The games are actually designed to be multi-threaded, and that's fine or whatever the case is, and that's an old paradigm. That's what I mean by old paradigm versus the new one. Back in the day, single thread was the shit. That's what you wanted to do. They were looking for that shit now, but then they realized they don't have, like, that shit was damaging to the fucking transistors and all sorts of shit. So they were like, yo, we need to break up the workload into these cores, which is going to put workload onto the developers. They need to learn how to thread their shit or code their shit with multiple threads. You do this, you do that, you do this. to lighten the load so they don't have to burn the fucking chips apart. You know what I mean? And the developers learned how to do it, and then we got the chip small enough to where the heat dissipation wasn't crazy, and we got better technology with the heat sinks and shit like that. But going back to point, it's just crazy to me. I don't feel like the people that I'm referring to are gamers. When you can't play a game at 30 frames a second, when last generation you didn't have a fucking problem with it.
I find that so funny for console gamers, but carry on.
It's strange. It's strange to me. I can see a PC. I can see a PC motherfucker that was like, "Yo, I'm looking for the best." I got you. You've been there. But I hear arguments with people like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this." You know, I finally got a taste of 60 frames a second. Nigga, you got a taste of 60 frames a second back in PS2 days with Metal Gear Solid 2.
People didn't even know Call of Duty was 60 frames per second.
Those people are stupid. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the funny thing is, Call of Duty for last generation, Call of Duty.
The frame rates in back in the days were not consistent though.
Call of Duty. Well, here's the thing, right?
Targeting 60.
Here's the thing.
Always targeting 60.
Here's the thing: the 360 days and the PS3 days, it was 40 to 60 frames a second. No one batted an eye. And in terms of this generation or last generation, the PS4 360 or PS4 Xbox One, it was still around 50 to 60. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was never consistent.
It's really because of the uprise of channels like Digital Foundry. People didn't fight over shit like that because they had nobody to tell them what the difference was by zooming in 400 times. You get what I'm saying?
He's talking about frame rate. Well, I guess in a general sense. Absolutely.
No, yeah, we talking about just like technology. We talk about technology and shit like that. Motherfuckers is throwing 17 smoke grenades, walking in grass. Waiting for this shit to drop. Oh,
benchmarks, man.
You know what I mean? They're like, on its most stressful point, it dropped 7.5 frames for this amount. I mean, that's cool for the PC niggas, right? That's cool for them. They spent their money. They eke out every piece of pixel and frame. I get it, but you can't come from the PS1 all the way to fucking 4. And then you made crazy accusations last generation. Talk about some PC game. Oh, y'all don't got no games on. No, I ain't talking about that. I ain't talking about that. They're like 30 frames a second. You PC people don't got no games. They don't got no games. See, even though we don't have 60 frames a second, we don't need it because we got checkerboard and we got 4K with these quasi next generation consoles. And guess what? Look at these graphics, yo. The art style is crazy. I don't really care about 60 frames. If it comes, it comes. You know, I don't really care. All of a sudden, it came to this generation.
FPS is better. It's cinematic, right?
And then it came to this generation, and motherfuckers are acting like I cannot play it anymore.
That's what happens. Honestly, that's what happens when the standard changes. Like y'all, like console gamers, they don't like. It typically, like, you don't know how good something is until you're actually experiencing.
We had 60 frames. We had 60.
When it goes away, you're like, oh my god, this is what I was dealing with.
We had but it didn't go. But it didn't go. But here's the thing. Hold on. Wait. Bless. It didn't go away. The problem is this generation, right? Now I'm not talking about this game, excluding this game, right? This generation for the past 2 years have given you options to do fucking 30, 60, or 120, right? It gave you these options off the bat.
Yeah, y'all getting the just taste of that.
But here's the thing: we already had 60 frames a second, all the way back in the PS2 generation, with a lot of different fucking games. If you played GameCube, right? There was a game called Was it Star Fox or whatever the case is? That shit ran at 60 frames a second. Period. It never dropped.
Well, another example would be Valkyrie Profile Samaria. That was another PS2 game that ran at 60 FPS. Fun fact, if you run it on a Steam Deck, it doesn't run proper because you can't get 60 FPS in that game on a Steam Deck, so it just runs slow. But,
unfortunate.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out ways around that because it's one of my favorite of all-time games. But the thing that got me into PC gaming was because I went over to my friend's house and he was playing Mass Effect Andromeda. I was also playing that game on PlayStation, and I'm used to 30, but seeing it at 90 FPS, it felt and looked so much better. So that's what made me, like, I literally sat there with a jaw drop moment where I'm like, yo, what the fuck? What rate is this going at? He popped a little FPS in the top right corner, and I just sat there watching it. I didn't even want to fucking touch the game. I was just more mesmerized by seeing how smooth it was. So from that point going forward, I literally came home and told my girlfriend at the time, she's my wife now, like, yo, I want a gaming PC. Like, I want a gaming PC.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, I like how you moved in silence though. You know what I'm saying? So to me, even the PC master race that thumps their chest, you know what I'm saying? It's like there's a lot of shit that I like that I don't tell people. You know what I mean? I don't need to climb to the rooftops and for people to fucking know what I like or dislike, whatever the case is. You know, sometimes I'll share a moment within a game and say that this is cool to start a dialogue or conversation. Like I'm playing, which have a horrible frame rate by the way. And don't get it fucked up. I played games at 100 and The Last Guardian. I played games at 120 frames a second as well as fucking 15 frames a second. For me, it just never bothered me. That's me. That's a me thing. I was never enamored with the frame rate being crazy. I care about visuals, fine, whatever, or sometimes art style and visuals, or whatever the case is. But I'm playing The Last Guardian, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. What happened to the days where we can have, as gamers, have conversations about the content instead of fucking specs? Like, for instance, I played The Last Guardian, right? And a game has a relationship between your pet and yourself, right? There was a scenario, you seen it at E3 years ago, right? Where there was a platform this little boy was on, right? And the platform started to break. And Trico is a insubordinate animal. But since the fucking platform was about to collapse, you had to trust that I hope if I jump to him, he could catch my ass. You know what I'm saying? You're like, please catch me. And he ended up trying to catch you, missed the first time. And then he tries to do it again, missed the second time. And you're like, oh, fuck, I'm going to die. Then he takes his tail and puts it in your way. You grab on the tail and he runs, he jumps out of dodge, right? He jumps from ledge to ledge to ledge. And then you jump to one place where now Trico needed your help and he had to trust you to fucking help him. And he's so much bigger than you. So you had to fucking pull a lever, throw a fucking, like push a little log down so he can grab on and get some leverage. And y'all both, you know, what happened to those days that we could describe shit like that? Or an Ocarina of Time and shit like that. We liked the music when he was playing the fucking Ocarina of Time. Or Grand Theft Auto.
I could tell you what happened. I could tell you what happened. Digital Foundry happened. That's what happened. I was there.
It's all for console wars now.
Yeah, it's the console wars shit that Digital Foundry started.
And they didn't do it intentionally.
No, not intentionally. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's just the audience.
I always explain to people, if Digital Foundry didn't exist, y'all wouldn't be talking about this shit. Talking about, the Xbox Series X has 416x antitropic filter in an older game. Like, we don't give a fuck about that.
Yeah, honestly, they wouldn't know what the fuck. Yeah, they wouldn't know what the fuck RDNA is.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. It makes them feel like they're smart. That's why most of them take shit from those videos and just react the same thing. And when you ask them to delve deeper into the subject, they usually just listen.
Yeah, they don't know what
the fuck. Because in all reality, they're just regurgitating the same thing they see online. Then you got other channels that pass around false information. Like that fucking Astra and X guy said that the fucking Series X is the equivalent of a 40 fucking 90, bro. I would put it up on the screen right now.
Okay, alright. To be fair, I think people misread the tweet.
I know what you're trying to say.
I think it's graphical settings.
No, there's no excuse, man. There's no excuse. There's no excuse.
No. I'm talking about the graph. I think he was talking about the graphical settings, not frame rate.
I don't give a fuck what he was talking about. It's no excuse.
It may be like I don't know how demanding that game is. I don't know. I'm not playing scoring. That's for damn sure.
It's not really demanding, but here's the reason why I said that it was disingenuous. Because he could have literally said that it matches the highest PC setting and been cool. But instead of saying the 3080, because I can get the 4K 60 120 with just the 3080. Instead of saying a 3090 or any other card, he's specifically chosen the highest tier card available to say it's the equivalent of that.
He's on drugs, man.
Yeah, fair enough.
I know what you're trying to say, but it's the way he delivered it. It was kind of like, bro, you're doing that shit to be smart. And the applause showed that he knew what he did.
Yeah, I ordered a 4090. That shit is still in the mail, but I've been watching shit ton of benchmarks and shit.
Yeah, that card is fucking incredible. Incredible.
Yeah, I remember that.
Y'all want one? NZXT got an exclusive H710 Elite build that comes with 4090.
That's the one I got.
Right, bro.
Pre-bits? Ew.
Yeah. Wait. I understand that sounds bad.
It sounded bad at first.
To it is, it's only $1,100. It was only $1,000 extra. So what I plan on doing is, I plan on getting that, snatching the 4090 out, putting it in my PC,
selling it.
Right.
I got you.
And flip it.
Then selling it. Yeah.
All right. Fair enough.
Hold on, before we go on, before I'm about to end this here. Fred, what do you have to say about this shit, yo? I saw your hand up. I got in a moment, man.
Fred. All I had to say is that all I care about is that I can run my games at max setting and get over 60 frames. That's all I care about. The rest of this shit is bull. Okay. That's all.
Okay, I mean that's fine. I haven't seen you around these gaming spots, to be honest with you, thumping your chest or whatever the case is. You just play your shit, from my understanding, and keep it the fuck moving. That's cool. I'm a console nigga that keep it the fuck moving, but I also do this raggedy ass little podcast too, because I like talking about shit. I like talking to gamers and shit like that, and that's fine. That's why I try to get as much knowledge as I possibly can, so I can have a interesting discourse with people in general, but all in all, my sentiment, Digital Foundry, like you were saying before, man, Digital Foundry really fucked things up for these people, and it's not their fault either, because they were really trying. They're enthusiasts, you know what I'm saying? So they're gonna say
they focus on the tech and how it competes and compares, and they do tech analysis of technologies and stuff. But people only focus on the comparison videos.
Yeah, and I can tell you
that's
exactly
the only thing they focus on.
Yo, I can tell you exactly when this shit happened, because I used to post in NeoGAF exactly when this console or shit started with the
2005. I signed up for NeoGAF, man. 2005.
Yeah, it started with 2005, and Major Nelson and all those dudes and all these crazy people running around, talk about 360 and PS3. But where this shit really started with Digital Foundry was when I think they did the Mafia analysis, and I think the PS3 version didn't have grass, and the 360 version had grass, and that shit took off on the forums like crazy. People were like, PS3 can't do grass, and cell processing.
Oh, and there was more. It was more to it than that, right? It was more to it. So this is when I was so far.
No grass.
I was actually in high school when I signed up, actually, for because I lost my profile. Because having a username and password was brand new for me, because I had AIM, and that shit was all fucked up. You remember AIM, Instant Messenger or whatever. Yeah, I was so there's too many passwords, and little did I know we were here. But I was the DS and PSP all the way back then, right? When they released, I remember they showed the first screenshot, because everybody was like, "Yo, the PS3 is trash."
Yeah.
I remember, right? They showed the first screenshot of Killzone, and it was this pixelated blood, and it was this pixelated shadow, and they were snickering back and forth. They were like, "This game looks like trash, right? Look at this! I told you, y'all wasted y'all $600, right?" So they finally released the shit, and it had all these crazy ass fucking effects, right? Some of these effects were like movie quality, motion vector, per pixel motion blur and shit like that, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And it looks so filmic. It looks so real at the time. And people were like, "That's not fucking real. Ain't no fucking way." I was one of the people. I was like, "Yo," because it was ain't no way this shit is running. And I remember Digital Foundry. You probably could still find this video from 2007 or 8.
Yeah.
They said that the gun. They said that the gun, right?
Yeah.
Was a sprite. It was so detailed. They didn't. That's why I say you can't believe everybody, right? Because these technical gurus, right, that everybody listens to, they said that the fucking gun was a fucking sprite.
Really? Oh my god, that's crazy. I didn't even watch that Digital Foundry analysis for Killzone back then. They even laughed. That's what was happening, because they were getting mad fucking clicks. And then because I get it too. This was new. You know what I mean? Being in the console war. Being in the console war is lucrative. It's still lucrative, but it was really it was brand new. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then on top of it, they showed God of War, right? Yeah. God of War. They said that shit looked like a fucking PS2 game. They had one screenshot, and it was a zoomed out when he was on top of Gaia, and they were like, "That shit looked like a PS2 game." They was like, "Yo, what the fuck?" And then they showed that one scene where he ripped the head off, and then you had Uncharted, and then we had all these other fucking games. Yeah.
And that's when I remember they kept saying that the Xbox 360 got free multi-sample anti-aliasing, where the PS5 or the PS3 couldn't do it. And all of a sudden, right, they were like, "Oh, you could expect to have jaggies." And then they had morphological anti-aliasing for God of War, which was using the fucking cell processor. People were like, "What the fuck is this?" They was like, "There's no fucking jaggies to be found," which it wasn't, because that's how it rendered it. You know what I mean? It had a CPU to kind of, match the pixels and smooth everything out. So people were like, "Oh, now PS3 had an answer to the ×2 multi-sample MSAA."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was just a really interesting time. That's where I learned a lot of my because I used to program. What grade was I in? I was in the first grade. I remember I stole a Texas Instrument calculator and just kept looking at the back of the manual for this calculator and learned what the different coding was. And then when I went to high school, I spent almost my whole high school coding.
Yeah.
So I know a thing or two about the coding, and to me, consoles remind me of, and excuse the derogatory commentary, right? It reminds me of like rice burners, right?
Oh yeah.
It's like, that this fucking Honda Civic is ass, right? But it's fun to try to get the most out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know that a Ferrari will destroy that shit.
Yep.
Base. You can put so much into a fucking Honda Civic and a Ferrari will still eat that shit up. But it's still fun to kind of do it. That's how I look at consoles. That's why I never had a problem with frame rate and shit like that. It just was interesting to see what the ingenuity of a programmer could do, because my history as a programmer, I would never consider myself a programmer because I don't think I'd spend enough time to do it. But I've done it, and I spent most of my high school year doing it.
I'm the same way, right? I've been gaming on. I actually started gaming on PC like in around '91, and but before then I was gaming on consoles. I think I started in '88 for Master System or whatever, and I didn't really start gaming on PlayStation until like I think it was '95, '96, because I was such a hardcore PC fanboy, right? Around those times, because that was the era of like Quake and Duke Nukem and all that shit. So I was really invested into PC, right? And I wasn't interested at all in consoles. But I think it was around 1997, 98 when I saw like I think it was Gran Turismo or Metal Gear Solid, one of these games. And that's when I just got sucked into PlayStation, right? So I've always, as soon as I got sucked into PlayStation, I put all that PC Master Race shit behind me, because I started seeing like, the PlayStation isn't as powerful as the PC, no way, and it's never gonna be. But the kind of stuff they can do with the PlayStation and like squeezing out all that power from it started to like capture my imagination. And I always respected devs that could, go out and squeeze as much power from the consoles, because consoles they're not like PCs. PCs always like brute forcing everything, like just push the most power out as possible. But consoles,
maximum power.
Yeah, but consoles, you always have to find ways to optimize and shit. And I always like the fact that the console devs, like to me, the best devs are not PC devs; they're actually console devs, because they find a way to squeeze out power from these consoles. They're like potatoes, but they still, squeeze out a lot of power.
You know what? There's a saying for that too, which is like limitation breeds innovation.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So here's
I agree with that.
So here's the thing, right? I remember PS1.
That's what's scaring about these newer consoles.
It does, because we're starting to get games that are feeling kind of soulless. You know what I mean? Did y'all feel that shit? Like it doesn't have that itch. You know what I mean? Like the ingenuity. Like, I mean, maybe it's just me and I'm just being nostalgic, but like, I remember PS1 when I was in the console war between the PS1 and the N64. That was actually my first console war was the Genesis versus the Super NES, and a Game Gear versus the Game Boy, right?
Oh yeah, I remember.
Our Game Boy Pocket, and I had both of those. But so let's talk about the PS1.
Yeah.
All my N64 friends, we all both played consoles. We loved it. We ate that shit up, right? We ate it up. We loved every minute of it, right?
Yeah.
we will play each other's games, right? And it was pretty cool. But one of the things they say that, oh, we don't got loading times. We have no loading times. Ha ha ha, right? Cool. All of a sudden, there was a game called Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver. Loaded once.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, how the fuck do you have an open world? I considered it back then open world game. How the fuck do you have an open world game that doesn't load ever? I said, that shit was mind blowing. Then we had another game that didn't even have. This is the cool thing about if you're a really good programmer, right?
Yeah.
There was a limited amount of draw distance for both. Well, specifically for the PlayStation 1. It only had 1 megabyte of video memory.
Oh man.
So what they ended up doing was Spyro and Crash. But I say Spyro because you can move the camera around, right?
Yeah.
I think this draw distance was like 3 miles in game, right? Well, basically was infinite to us, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And they were like, how the fuck did they do it? They used a level of detail system where it would swap out the models. Also, their textures were. They designed the textures where it wasn't that much information or that many texels, is what you would call a pixel on the texture. It makes a texture, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It didn't have that many pixels on the texture that made up the texture. It was limited, and they would design it to be almost flat. And they may have like a little thing here and there, and that's how they got around it. The stuff that they rendered all the way in the background was literally a flat fucking texture. That was one color, and as you got close to it, it would start loading in the disc and adding detail as you went along. Consequently, this is pretty cool too. Naughty Dog was a beast with this, right? The reason why Crash Bandicoot is orange is because the PS1, like the color orange, was the least amount of memory.
Oh wow, I didn't even know that.
And the reason why Crash looked the way that it did, right? If you look at Crash, his polygons for his character, you notice that he don't really have a texture.
Yeah.
Except for his shoes, right?
Yeah.
That saves memory. So his pants, they just colored their whole polygon for his pants blue. And you know, and then his little turf that he have on his fucking chest, that was just a triangle, an upside down triangle that they colored lighter color. They didn't have textures on him at all. They didn't render textures except for his shoes, the laces. And that's how they got around a main character eating up that much memory.
Wow.
You know, it was so cool to see that shit, yo. And I was like, I never gave Crash Bandicoot the time of day. Because I'm like, you can't control the camera, though. Like, that's kind of cheating. Because I don't know what's happening behind you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was more impressive to me to move the character, run around, and then you could see the environment that was there. My game, my game was actually Tomb Raider, so that's why I game on play or consoles in general. It's so amazing to see what people could do with limitations.
Yeah.
And then B, I don't feel like when it goes wrong on PC. And it's not like I can't. It's not like I can't fix it.
That's what I feel.
What happened? Hello?
Hello, we lost you.
Who was talking?
I'm not sure. Let me see.
This space is tripping out anyway, so I can imagine. But it's like funny though. It's like when I see this shit, it's like when it goes wrong, it really goes wrong. It goes left. It goes crazy left. Like I told you, I just got a laptop out. Oh, it was him. He fell out. When I opened up this box for my laptop, guess what happened? The sound drivers was fucked up.
Shit. Yeah.
So like every time I would turn off my computer, right, the fucking the headphone jack was fucked up. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? I did every driver. I'm not gonna spend. I have to keep resetting my computer just to get it to work again. I'm not gonna spend 2 hours trying to fix it. Then you have Windows. Windows is the main reason why I don't like PC gaming, because that's the thing that fucks it all up. Windows is incredibly intrusive.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't want to have fucking Microsoft Teams on my fucking computer. I want that off. I want Xbox Live off. I don't want Game Pass on my shit. I don't want any of that shit because it eats up processing power, and I don't like their menu. I don't like their UI. And back in the day, they used to call it a GUI, a GUI.
Yeah.
But I don't like their interface. It all these little cute things where the thing pops up and you have all these little animations for your icons that eats up CPU power, or it makes hiccups happen. I want that shit off, and they don't allow you to do it. I don't feel like it. That's my reason. Y'all guys can love your fucking 8K 120 frames a second. I was never a person that cared. All I want to do is have fun when I play my game. I want to have experiences that I never played before.
Yeah, for me, I like the simplicity of consoles. I think the thing that makes me like PC gaming is not necessarily the power. I mean, I like power, but it's not the main reason. The main reason is like the mods, and that's why I got like the 4090, because some of these mods, especially like Skyrim mods, those shits like they kill your PC. They'll eat up your VRAM like crazy. So you need a lot of VRAM. So. But for me, it's more like the mods. That's the main reason I like PC gaming, and I'm also into flight sims and space sims. And unfortunately, PlayStation doesn't have a lot of those. So
you got what do you call that game again? No Man's Sky.
Nah, that's not a space sim. That's more like
exploration game.
Why you being an elitist, man? Come on, man.
Exploration/survival.
But I will say this. Right? I got it out my system. I've been ranting about this for 2 days, and I love how Bless will irritate me to the point where it gives me ideas. These shows.
Bro, I'm content. I'm content, man.
I was like, yo, he pisses me off, you motherfucker. And I'm like, oh shit, this is kind of like a lit ass space. Wait a minute. So
one thing I do want to touch on. I thought I was still in here. I don't know. This fucking emulator crashed, but like one thing, the emulator, this BlueStacks emulator. But no, one thing I want to touch on is like the more straying away of more, limitations breeds ingenuity and creativity. Like I feel like we're straying more and more away from that.
We are
every generation, and because especially considering everything is coming to PC now.
Yeah, that's
or is at least as far as I can tell. That will be the end goal. It's like, are we really going to see these specifically tailor-made experiences for only like the PS5 can only do type thing, where it's like, it's utilizing all the capacity of the throughput of the SSD and
I think
everything that is capable of. So I don't know.
I think we'll still see those type of games from Sony's first party, because as far as I know, like the first party studios are not the main studios like Santa Monica and Naughty Dog and all those. They're not making games for PC. They just make them for the PS5, and I think the other support studios port them to PC, and I think they pretty much do all the scaling and all that shit that it requires to be on PC and all that. So I still think we'll see those type of games. My worry is like the consoles themselves are actually becoming more and more like PCs, and I saw this as soon as we started moving towards the x86, right? Yeah. So as soon as we moved over to the x86 architecture, I started seeing that. I mean, on one hand, it's a good thing because we don't have crazy stuff like the Cell anymore. The Cell was a blessing and a curse, right? We had like you could do some really crazy stuff, but at the same time, it was incredibly.
But it taught developers though. It taught developers quickly how to multi-thread. You know what I mean? How to thread on multiple cores and shit like that, or how to use it. Did teach them how to do that because they were adamantly against it. They were like, "Why the fuck do we got to do this shit, yo?" They were like, "Oh, the 360 has only 3 CPUs and 2 threads each. Why do I got to do all this crazy shit?" And then on top of it, we have to manage the cache. And it's funny because like I knew all this information. I used to go to the library and print out documents of this shit and just read it while eating a sandwich. That shit was so interesting. I was like, "Ooh, look at this! I wonder what it could do." I don't do it anymore, but like now that you guys are like trying to pull that side out of me, you know what I mean? I'm like, wow, I remember I used to do that shit. I used to be such a fanboy, right? When it came to the PS2, I know that shit by heart. 297 megahertz. for the CPU. That was the emotion engine. And then it had a VRAM, it had a Vector Unit 0 that was barely used, and Vector Unit 1.
Hey, look, you ain't no fanboy, man. You just love technology.
You love technology. That's a good thing, man.
The same thing.
That's why. Hey, look, that's why I love PC.
I was gonna say, to that point, why don't you just look up some information about like GPUs and stuff? I mean, you don't have to be a PC gamer, but you can still be interested in technology.
I still look into it or whatever the case is, but to your point, we're getting to a diminishing returns, and we're getting to a convergence. So if like even if a PC is really powerful, it's not going to be like that much different architecturally. You know what I mean? So it's like they're not doing interesting things with coding. Like the thing is, like with the PS2, they had really fast VRAM. It was 4 megahertz, right?
Nah, man. See, I can't wait for that. Hellblade 2, because that really shows what the Xbox can do to me.
Well, because it's using
you said that shit. Look.
It's using the Unreal Engine 5, and I'm just curious now. I'm curious about.
Suspicious of that stuff.
Now I'm curious about engines right now, because the technology is kind of like I mean, it is what it is, but like the engines to see how people can make things work. The PS2 had a very fast VRAM that was 4 megabytes. Excuse me. It was so fast that it was able to switch out the texture back and forth. It'll do the foreground textures and then the background textures, and it will flicker back and forth really fast because it couldn't have the memory. It didn't have the memory to do it. Yeah. It was like a prototype of what we have nowadays with these consoles. You know what I'm saying?
So since we're talking about technology,
respect Unreal Engine 5, sir.
Do you think the next generation consoles after this will have big little architecture? Because that's what I'm thinking. It might
for this.
You said big. I don't. Wait. Hold on. Wait. You said big little texture. What is that?
That is what Intel's doing.
But pretty much like the Core i5. What is that? 1200K some shit.
Yeah. So
they got like 4 E cores and 6 P cores, 6 power cores.
Yeah. So essentially, like 6 cores that are extremely powerful, and then 4 cores that'll handle more efficient tasks. Say like navigating the menu for the PS5 or something like that. I mean, the thing is though, these are AMD. They're both consoles basically just use AMD, so I don't know if that
they're not going to use it. They're not going to.
AMD is just focusing on all performance cores.
They're not going to. But here's the thing.
It's going to be dependent on what AMD does.
Let me say this, right? Let me.
I mean, they could change in the future. They might not be with AMD next time.
No. They're going to be. No, I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna tell you this.
Like Intel is, they're kind of like stuck up assholes.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you this. Microsoft.
Like no one wants to work with
Microsoft. Hold on. Wait. Microsoft. Hold on. Microsoft worked with Nvidia on the original Xbox, and they don't want to work with them again. The same thing with I'm sorry. Excuse me. Not Nvidia. Not just Nvidia. My bad. Not just Nvidia. They also work with Intel. And no, they don't want to work with them. Sega worked with them as well. They don't want to work with them either.
I think Sony also worked with Nvidia.
No, they did. They did.
Console manufacturers worked with Nvidia at some point.
Yeah. The PS3 was Nvidia, and everybody was like absolutely.
For the same exact reason EVGA left too.
Yeah, nobody.
They don't respect them.
Nobody.
Nvidia just do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, they was like.
BFG left them too.
Hold on, wait, hold on. Your little big engine or the little big architecture that you're talking about, that was actually the cell processor. You had one PPU.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Power core, and then you had 8. Even though there was one that was SPUs. The one was supposed to be for the operating system. The other one was redundancy. So you basically had 6 SPUs that would do the heavy lifting. So this is not new. This is not new technology. But the thing is, the architecture is still going to be x86, so they have maneuverability. like I said before, I think that this next generation, these are just going to be straight up like CPUs and GPUs. It's just straight up.
Or you can look it up on YouTube. Or it could be ARM, because they have an ARM chip with a RTX 3060 with ray tracing.
They had ARM processors, I believe. They had ARM processors for the PS4 and the Xbox One, and it handled the operating system, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm talking about for actual gaming.
No, because you know why? You know why they're not going to do that? You know why they're not going to do that? Because they already have the architecture. They're not going to switch the architecture again. Like an ARM architecture is different from x86. They're not going to do that again.
Yeah, but because right now in the PC space, you know,
it could be a helper. It could be a helper.
Like x86 is hitting its limits.
Well, we don't know. We don't know that.
x86 and 64 can only go but so much. That's why right now you got like Risk 5 and ARM chips are doing a lot of shit.
But ARM is good. ARM is good for like it uses low voltage, and it doesn't get hot because of that.
And that's what console manufacturers want.
They do, but they're not. They do.
It uses not a lot of power and shit.
They do, but they're not going to throw away all that backwards compatibility. Maybe they will. Who knows? But I truthfully believe.
They did it.
I don't think for next generation. Maybe something after.
Yeah, maybe something after. But they have done that shit before when they, when we went to the PS4. They had to because it was too expensive to do some shit like that. Even Microsoft was like, "Yo, these chips." They did that because PowerPC was taking up more energy than x86.
No, I know you're right, and it got hotter, and also they had to. And on top of it, like I said, it cost Microsoft and Sony a whole bunch of money because it was you couldn't put that in a small case.
Those research costs were getting too crazy.
Yeah, so now.
Trust me, because ARM is powerful. Look at the Apple chip.
Oh no! I know. Look, Knight. I know ARM is really powerful, but all I'm saying is this, yo. We in our upper ages, except for Bless. That nigga is 16 years old. But I'm gonna tell you right now.
It might not be the PS6. But I guarantee down the line somewhere it's gonna be an ARM game.
Motherfucker, we gonna have arthritis. We're gonna have arthritis. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Nintendo did it first.
Nintendo
did it first, but as them chips get more powerful and more efficient, at some point that shit gonna switch over.
I think Sony might do it with like a handheld. If they come up with like a PSP 2 for real, the real PSP 2, not the Vita.
They need to stop.
That will make sense.
They need to make another PSP.
I don't
need to make another handheld.
The thing is, like, I wouldn't want to market that in a situation when, especially they're in the PC market now. So it's like you got Steam Decks and shit.
So you mean to tell me if Sony made a system like the Steam Deck, you wouldn't buy? I know I would.
If it could,
Steam Deck, I can play their games on the Steam Deck.
I'm saying, like, if they made their own that, like, if they made it just like that, if you didn't have the Steam Deck, would you buy it? You would.
No, I don't know.
I probably still wouldn't because I prefer PC gaming and like I'm way more in the ecosystem of Steam and their library now than I am.
You gotta look at it. If a person owns a PlayStation, like I'm not talking about us PC dudes, PlayStation dudes, right? Sony made a handheld. They gonna go buy that shit.
Even as a PC dude, I would still buy that shit.
I would still buy it.
I know I would.
No, I'm not gonna. No, but
I don't think it would be a very successful product considering.
I don't think it would be a very successful.
No.
Look, if it wasn't,
it'd be good for Japan at least. It'd be good for Japan.
Sure. Japan may adopt it well.
I know. Hold on. Let me say this before. Hold on. Wait. Let me.
Look at the Switch. You mean to tell me you wouldn't love playing Horizon Zero Dawn for better was on a handheld like that?
You can already with the Steam Deck.
It will be available on the Steam. It's gonna be available. Like
Yeah,
like the thing is, you have to realize that it's not just the Switch that they're competing with anymore. Even though these are PCs that are portable, they're still putting all of their game. They're going to be putting all their games on that platform as well. So if somebody is going to be so you have to take that into account, especially if they're not going to release it for like the next couple years. It's going to be the Steam Deck too.
What if they make exclusive games for it though? Because they could do that.
That was my next point. I was about to say, because if you think about it, even the Steam Deck, like if you run Horizon Zero Dawn, maybe you got a better way of fiddling with the settings. But I couldn't get it to 800p 60. My thing is, if the games are properly optimized,
60, no, you're not gonna get that.
Right, even with FSR, I couldn't. So my thing is, if they optimize it properly, and even though it may be equivalent or weaker than the Steam Deck 2, if it still can pull off its first party on the go better than the Steam Deck can, then it's going to sell like hotcakes.
Hell yeah.
So I'm gonna look, guys.
The Steam Deck is gonna get a sequel. It's not gonna be.
So guys, so yo.
I'm just saying, like, if we're gonna say, for example, a PlayStation device that's gonna come out in a couple years, like that market is gonna be even more. It's going to be even more congested than it is now.
Right, but you have a lot of people that don't want to Steam Deck because they don't want to deal with PC stuff.
So hold on, guys.
It's going to be already. It's going to be like a.
A Steam Deck is pretty streamlined if you stay within the confines of.
But you got to remember, it's a PlayStation.
But a lot of people are still not going to want to deal with them type of settings.
All right, so yo.
Jesus.
I gotta go, man. Shit, I gotta pack up this shit. I gotta go like immediately, yo. But anyway, I thank you guys. I really thank you guys for jumping in there. I really appreciate this shit. This is great fun. Don't forget that it's archived on YouTube. It's recorded. And I had illicit therapy, so it's right there for you guys if you want to look at that. I apologize for interrupting, but I was trying to say something. Y'all was just kept going. Shit.
No, you go
ahead. Man, it's all right, man.
All right, guys. Yo, listen. You take care.
All right,
man. You take care.
Peace, y'all.
All right, peace.